Hello and what's up, RSC Pokemon Challenges fam? How are you guys doing? We are coming back with the last episode of the Roxanne Minimum Battle Series, at least before we get into redos, etc. But for today, we're coming in with a massive slate. We've got 28 Pokemon to run today. In fact, 29, because I'm going to tell you right now, one of the member picks is actually doubled up. We're going to have two versions of the same Pokemon. I'll go into that in a little bit. But for now, we are coming in with basically everything legendary or mythical. We've got the legendary Birds of Kanto, we've got Mewtwo and Mew, we've got the legendary Beasts of Johto. Ho-Oh, Lugia is up there in that member picks section, so it will be in here as well. Celebi's coming in, we'll get all the Regis, Latias, and then Latios that is up there in the member picks actually is going to be doubled up. Two members picked it at about the same time. I promised them both that I would run it for them, but it's running two separate movesets, so I think it's going to be very interesting. We'll see how that goes when we get there. After that, of course, we'll have Kyogre, Groudon, Rayquaza will also be in here. It's just up there in the member picks section. Somebody's already decided to pick it up just in case it doesn't get through. Then we've got Jirachi, and we've got all four forms of Deoxys. I have been spending a little bit of time doing some ROM hacking here to get it so that we could run all the Deoxys forms, even though Deoxys-Speed is the only one that's actually legal in Pokemon Emerald. I just think it's kind of fun to see how normal Deoxys, Deoxys-Defense, Deoxys-Attack would do in this version as well. We're also going to add in quite a few member picks. We've got a Gengar up there, a Snorlax, a Houndoom, and a Sableye. The Sableye got through previously normally, but we're also going to test it with an upgraded moveset from a channel member, whereas Gengar, Snorlax, and Houndoom were all eliminated previously by Roxanne. So this is their chance to get a little bit of a save. And speaking of second chances, if you look at the fail column right now, you'll notice that some of these sprites have a little exclamation point icon put on them. Those are the ones that I'm currently planning to run in redos in the next episode. But if you think there's another Pokemon that I don't have marked but should get another shot at Roxanne, just with its base moveset, not as a member pick with OP moves slapped on, let me know in the comments down below. Currently, the ones that I'm including are Pokemon like Slowking, which we already saw Slowbro get through with the Curse struggle strats. I think we should go for a little bit more action on Slowking to see if it can get it to go. Wingull was pretty close as a water type with Water Gun. It just couldn't quite get the job done, but maybe with more Rock 2 misses, it could get it to go. The same is true for Mantine over there, where I felt like it might have had a chance. It just wasn't quite enough. People have said Sharpedo because it was running Stab Bite. Kecleon was running Feint Attack and might have been able to get through with a little bit more luck. Duskull, we might need to investigate the Lepaberry strategies a little bit. Snorunt was also just barely out of there. Huntel, people were saying I should have gone for more bites, so we'll try that. And Shelgon, I felt was pretty close, but not quite there. We might need to try that one again. Currently, I think those are the ones that I might pick, though I might also go for adding on Persian into that. Once again, a Pokemon that has bite strats. I skipped over Golem as well, a Pokemon that might be able to struggle against Roxanne to get a victory. So we're just going to have to look at some of these Pokemon next time and see if they actually work or not. But again, if you see any that you think should get a second chance, just let me know down in the comments and we will try them in the wrap-up episode that comes out after this one. For now, let's get into our super ultra powerful mythical and legendary Pokemon that might actually struggle today. I'm going to guess that the legendary birds outside of Articuno have no chance, and that even goes for Ho-Oh and Lugia that are in the Gen 2 decks. Of course, Lugia will get a decent chance because it's up there in the member pick section, but honestly, otherwise, flying types today, I think it's only Articuno. Mewtwo and Mew, I have to believe, get through here on max IVs. If they don't get through, I'm going to really be struggling with what we could possibly do today. The legendary Beasts of Johto might start out with Bite if they're like Gen 2. That would lead me to believe that maybe Entei will get destroyed, but Raikou and Suicune will at least have a chance. Celebi, I expect to get through with no problems. People have already spoiled the Regis for me, so I already know that they're not going to progress. Latias might be able to get through, but it's going to likely require struggle at the very least. Latios would not be able to get through, at least in my opinion, which is why it's good that a couple members have already picked up that Pokemon. Kyogre, Groudon, I'm honestly just not sure what moves they get. As long as they get something decent, they should be able to get a victory, but we'll just find out. Rayquaza is kind of in that same category as Salamence and Dragonite last time, the flying dragon type, which I'm just not sure will make it strong enough to actually get through with its normal moveset. So yet again, the member pick may be required here. Jirachi might have a chance. We're going to have to see what exactly it has. If it has a psychic type move, I think it will be fine, but we'll just find out. And then the Deoxys forms, I was already messing around with hacking them in, so I already know that they start with Nightshade, and that should give them a decent chance to get through this section of the game. Deoxys-Speed might be the worst because of the fact that it's going to take more Rock Tombs. We'll just have to see. Anyway, place your own predictions down below as usual, and I'm going to kick this thing off by looking at the sets of 3 that we have in each generation. We're going to start with the legendary birds of Kanto, the legendary beasts of Johto, and the Regis, and we're just going to kind of go through them and see how they stack up as we go through this one. And we're going to start with the ice and water ones, so we'll start with Articuno, then Suicune, then Regice, and then go to the fire versions, and then finally we'll go to the electric / steel versions here just to see how they go. Let's get into this and find out. So of course, we're going to lead off with Articuno here, who comes in with not as great special attack as it had in Gen 1, when special was all the one stat. That could be the downfall of this Pokemon. We also have decent defense and HP, but the speed is a little bit higher than I would like. We're just going to have to see how this works out. It's possible with something like a freeze from a Powder Snow, we might be able to get through. I think it really comes down to whether or not we can one-shot the Geodudes, though. If we one-shot Geodudes, then we might be able to go for a freeze on the nose pass in order to get some sort of victory, but otherwise our 4x weakness to rock, I think, is just going to destroy us here. Let's just get into this and see. So we put Articuno into the Trico Ball, so we'll go up against Torchic, and let's see the starting moveset. We have Gust and Powder Snow, so about what I would have expected here. I think Powder Snow is the stronger move in general, though we can use Gust against the rival. Let's just see how May actually goes here. If we get through her just fine, then I think we're just on to the gym, because I don't see anything else in between us really standing up to this Articuno. The other thing that we do have to mention in this episode, though, is there are an awful lot of Pokemon running in the slow level up group, meaning they're going to get to Roxanne at very low levels, and that may impact some of these fights, where if these Pokemon got like a medium slow level up group, they might actually be just fine. We'll just have to see. But let's see how this rival goes first. So here against May, of course, I'm just going to go into Gust. It looks like a simple 3-hit KO. We only take 2 damage there. In fact, we get a 2-hitter, so we get through nice and easy. And now we can move on in the game. Let's just make our way straight to Roxanne's gym and see if we stand any chance there. So here on Hiker Devon, I can say that we only one-shot the second Geodude after we leveled up to level 8. The first Geodude was a 2-hit KO. And that tells me that Roxanne's Geodudes, which are 4 levels higher, are likely to be 2 or 3 hit KOs here, and that may make this one completely impossible, because it would be one thing to just knock out the first 2 Pokemon and then need to fish for a freeze on the nose pass. That would be like a 10% chance at that point. But if we have to get 3 freezes in this, or start mixing in, you know, Rock Tomb misses, etc., we may just not have enough chances to actually make this work. Certainly not within the luck that would be equivalent to a critical hit, which is where I would cap the luck here. Really, even just needing 2 freezes in a battle where you freeze turn 1, knock that Pokemon out, and then freeze the next Pokemon turn 1 and knock that Pokemon out is like a 1 in 100 chance. So it's really not reasonable, at least in my opinion. But, you know, who knows? Maybe this works out. Maybe we can survive. Maybe we get a crit and just get through one of the Geodudes. I'm going to test it and see. So Roxanne attempt number 1. Let's go Powder Snow on the first Geodude. And yeah, this is a 2-hit KO. We get 1 shot from the first Rock Tomb. And it means there's basically not even a point to having the Oran Berry here, because we don't survive long enough to ever use it. Yes, there is a 20% chance for this Geodude to miss the Rock Tomb, and there is a kind of random chance that the Geodudes will go for Defense Curl, but that's honestly the best that we've got here. We get the Rock 2 miss this time. That forces her to use a potion, so we will actually get through the first Geodude. I think 2 Rock 2 misses would be reasonable. The problem is that we're likely going to need the freeze after that. Here we still get one shot by the second Geodude. So it's on that basis that I'm going to fail Articuno, because it's not just that we're getting one shot here, it's the fact that the luck that it would take to get everything we need to knock out these Pokemon would be, for the best odds, getting a Rock 2 miss from the first Geodude or a Defense Curl, which I don't know the exact odds of a Defense Curl there, getting the same luck on the second Geodude, and then on the final Nose Pass, getting a freeze, which would be at 10%. So even if we're talking like a 20% chance to get the 2 Defense Curls from the Geodudes and then a 10% chance to freeze, that's still way more luck than a critical hit. It's on that basis that this Pokemon is out of there. Articuno really wishes it had its Gen 1 moveset where it started with Ice Beam. I'm willing to bet that the Ice Beam would one-shot the 2 Geodudes, and then we could just go for the freeze on the final Nose Pass and hope that that gets us through. Unfortunately, without that, I think we just have to fail this Pokemon, so it is out of there. So with that, we'll jump to Suicune, which is the closest parallel to Articuno from the Gen 2 legendary set, and we're just going to come in and see this Pokemon has fairly similar stats to Articuno: high HP, high defense, high special defense, decent special attack, and speed. It's also running the pressure ability, but we're just going to have to see how this actually works out with this Pokemon. Like I said, I think it might know Bite at the start of the game, but more importantly, there are no type weaknesses here, and that could give this one a serious chance, since it's not like our special attack is bad here. And if we just reach a point where we can survive a couple hits, we don't get knocked out by the Rock Tombs, we may be able to find a way through with a Bite strat here, with maybe a couple flinches. I mean, flinches from Bite are better odds than getting the miss from Rock Tomb, and then we add on that they can also miss with Rock Tomb or occasionally go for the random Defense Curl. I mean, there's a decent chance of getting through the Geodudes if we have Bite. Let's see how this actually goes though. Suicune's in the Mudkip Ball. Let's see the starting moveset. And sure enough, we come in with Bite and Leer, just as I expected. That will give us the flinch strats, and that could be what we need to actually get through this. Let's test it out. First up, we'll take on the rival May here. She comes out with her Trico. We go Bite, and this is going to be a 2-hitter after a crit, and she flinches. So May is an absolute joke. The Bite won't be great on the Poochyitas, but it should be enough, especially with flinches, and it is effectively a 30 power move against them, so it's pretty similar to using Tackle. And when you add on that we have max IVs here, I mean, we should be able to get through those fights pretty easily. The same is true for Hiker Devon. Bite will be neutrally effective there and have the chance to flinch. It's not like he's using anything super strong, so I think we'll get through there as well without any issues. So again, I think this is a Pokemon that just moves straight onto Roxanne, and that's going to be the fight that decides everything in this section of the game. So let's just see how it goes. So here, Bite 3-hit KO'd on both of Devon's Geodudes, so it's definitely not going to be a great range against Roxanne. It could be a 4 or 5-hit KO on her first 2 Pokemon, so we're really going to need flinches, and ideally for them to use something like Defense Curl against us. I will throw on the Oran Berry just to see if we can get the chances to get through this one. I'm just saying that it's not like it's going to be super consistent, at least based on the range that I was seeing against Devon, but let's find out how it actually goes. So Roxanne attempt number 1, we go Bite on the first Geodude, we get the Rock 2 miss, and sure enough, this looks like it's going to be a 4-hit KO before she potions. We get 1 Rock Tomb from the first Geodude that did 11 damage here, but we still knock that Pokemon out. That brings us to the second Geodude after the level up. It goes Defense Curl turn 1, which is very nice. Defense Curl turn 2 is also nice, and she goes for the potion right there. We get a nice Rock 2 miss and another Defense Curl. So we actually managed to get through the second Geodude with no damage taken. That brings out the final Nose Pass. It goes Harden turn 1, and we see that our Bite here did 4 damage, making this a 10-hit KO before she Oran Berries. So it's going to be more like a 12-13 hit KO after the Oran Berry comes in. Tackle is going to do some decent damage here, and we're not faster, so we can't flinch. We did have to use our Oran Berry right here. We're taking about 5 damage per hit from the Tackle, and she just Rock Tombs me down from there. So this is definitely not a great range. We're going to have to test this a little more and see how it goes. And the fact of the matter is that first run here was really about the best luck we can get against Roxanne. There are runs where we simply lose to the first Geodude. We're certainly against the second Geodude if it manages to hit multiple attacks on me. So we really would need a run where we get to the final nose pass with literally no hits from any of these Pokemon before that, so that we could at least outspeed and maybe have the chance to get a flinch or two on that nose pass. It's very, very luck-based to get that to go, though. And if we use the Oranberry before the nose pass, we can basically just reset right there because we know that we're not going to have enough HP to get through that last Pokemon. We get through the first Geodude this time with no damage, but of course the second Geodude then starts hitting all of the Rock Tombs and Rock Throws on me, and that basically guarantees that I lose this fight because we're just not going to have enough HP here on the nose pass. We got a nice critical hit there, but it still just was able to two-shot me after that. I think at most we can take like one Rock Tomb from the first Geodude, and that's basically it. This time we got at least one critical hit on the nose pass, but it still simply knocks me out with plenty of HP left. And because I'm generally getting there with like 20 HP when I actually do get through to nose pass, and the sheer luck that it takes even to get that is enough for me to say that Suicune, at least reasonably, does not get through this fight with the bite strategy. Once you take one Rock Tomb, you're not going to be able to flinch against the nose pass. And honestly, without the Oranberry, you're not going to survive enough turns there to even get decent damage on that Pokemon without just like crazy flinch luck. So any way you do it, you're just coming out in a situation where you're not able to tank enough damage. I think if this Pokemon got 2 more levels, if it was at level 10, like a medium slow level up Pokemon here, it might actually have a legit shot of getting through this fight because it would be dealing more damage, it would have more HP and more defense. The fact that it's in the slow level up group though kind of puts it in a bad spot here and ends up leading to Suicune just getting wrecked. So I'm going to fail this Pokemon for now. We may come back and look at this one in the redo episode just a little bit more. Maybe I can get a better range with just more grinding here, but for now, we're going to put it out from this challenge and just see how we do now with Regice. So that, of course, brings us to Regice, where we're coming in with a very slow Pokemon that has really high special defense, good special attack and defense, and then meh attack and kind of decent HP. We're just going to have to see how this actually goes. Of course, clear body means that none of our stats can be lowered, but I think the more important factor here is going to be the fact that we're going to have a terrible starting moveset. This is one that people spoiled for me way earlier in the series, and it just makes me think that we're probably getting wrecked. But let's just see what we actually get here. Maybe people made a mistake. Maybe they convinced me of something that's not true, but I'm pretty sure that I know that we have only one starting move. So we'll pick up Regice inside of the Trico Ball. Let's see the starting moveset, and it is Explosion. Yes. So, of course, we can knock out opponents with Explosion. The problem is that because we only know Explosion at the start of the game, we can't win any fight. And on top of that, we can't struggle against anything because revives don't exist at this point in the game. It looks like this Pokemon would learn Icy Wind at level 9, but that is basically it. And it's on that basis that we'll just go up and fight May, but we can already say that this one's over because we cannot actually survive a single battle. Against May, of course, we'll just explode on her Torchic, getting the one-hit KO, but knocking ourselves out in the process. And because this is Pokemon, you cannot win a fight where you faint your own Pokemon. And since we run these as solo challenges, not as team challenges, we can't just go pick up another Pokemon and do some switch training or something. That means Regice is out of there. So that will bring us to Zapdos, coming in with its really high speed, really high special attack, and kind of decent everything else. But I think our high speed is going to get us wrecked, plus the fact that we won't have any good moves for the rock type. I'm pretty sure we start off with a flying type move and like Thunder Shock, which is just not going to be enough. Still, we should be able to get to Roxanne, so we should just test this out and see, but I'm pretty sure we're at best getting 2-hit KO'd by the Rock Tombs. I mean, if Suicune didn't get through, are we really going to get through with the Zapdos? I'm not feeling too confident. We'll still test it and see how far we can actually get. So we'll pick up Zapdos inside of the Torchic Ball just in case it progresses, but we start with Peck and Thundershock, just as I would have expected. And with Thundershock, we can just easily knock out the first Zigzagoon. It should be perfectly fine to get us through these early game fights, but I don't think it's going to be great after that. So we're just going to have to see, but I'm pretty sure we get wrecked. Against rival May, of course, we can just go Thundershock right here, getting the easy 1-hit KO on the Mudkip, and I expect Thundershock to be more than enough for the next 2 Poochyenas. The real issue is going to be Hiker Devon. I'm just going to test that out to see if we can even get through him, but there is a high likelihood that we simply lose to the Hiker and then cannot even have a chance to get to Roxanne herself, because if you're losing to Hiker Devon, you're definitely not getting through Roxanne. And it really is a shame, because if we had any sort of neutrally effective move with this high special attack, I think we would be really good against Roxanne. Like if you gave this Pokemon Hidden Power Water, Hidden Power Grass, I'm pretty sure it can find a way through the 2 Geodudes. And then the question is just the Nose Pass. Maybe you could give Thunder there and do decent enough damage to actually get through. I'm honestly not sure. I don't think Steel Wing would get the job done, so I think you would have to go for your special move like Thunder there to have a chance. But maybe you get the Paralysis, and then maybe you can just get enough turns where it doesn't move to knock it out. But I think that's the only way this Pokemon could possibly get through. Still, I'll at least test against Hiker Devon here. Let's just see what we do. Can we get through with the Pecks? Do we need to go for the struggle? Let's find out. So here we peck on the first Geodude. We see that we did 2 damage with that first hit, and assuming that range holds up, this will be a 12-hit KO on the first Pokemon. Of course, he's going to Defense Curl and get us down to doing 1 damage per hit. So even though I've got the Oranberry on, I'm pretty sure we're just getting destroyed here as we're taking 4 damage per hit from the tackles. So that simply will not work for this Pokemon. We can actually knock out the first Geodude. It's going to be the second Geodude that just simply takes us down, because we're just not going to have enough damage output, and we're going to take too much damage when it tackles me. So on that basis, I can say definitively Zapdos will not get through Roxanne. Like, sure, we could go for something like a struggle strat there, but it's just not going to be great. We're taking 4 damage per hit. We would have to do more than 4 damage per hit to those Geodudes in order to have a chance. I just don't see it happening. So Zapdos is eliminated. So that brings us to Raikou, coming in with higher special attack than we had previously with Suicune, but lower defense. So I'm really interested to see how this one's going to go, because we might have a stronger bite, but then not be able to stand up to as many Rock Tombs here. We're just going to have to see if this can work or not. I'm hoping that we can knock out the Geodudes in 1 fewer hit with this higher special attack stat. Maybe that allows us to get through to the final Nose Pass without any damage, and we could go for some flinch strats there. Let's just see how this actually goes. Of course, we start with Bite and Leer, the exact same as Suicune. Now, we are going up against the Mudkip rival here, because even though the first stage is a pure water type, later on it will have the ground typing, neutralizing our stab electric moves. So let's just see how this rival goes right here. Of course, we don't have any electric type attacks, so we're just going for Bite. It looks like a simple 3-hit KO on this Pokemon, and we're going to win that 100% of the time as long as we just bite over and over and over again. And with that, I don't expect to have any issues on the randos before we get to Roxanne. I think it's Roxanne herself that could be the wall in this one, and it's really gonna come down to that slow level up group and the fact that we have high speed, so they're really going to want to go for a lot of Rock Tombs on me. But let's just see how this actually works out. Now here we did manage to 2-hit KO the second of the Geodudes, so we are getting a better range than we were getting with Suicune previously, and that might actually give Raikou a chance here to get through. Still, it's probably at least a 3-hit KO on Roxanne's Geodudes if I have to guess. We are quite a bit faster here, so we might be able to still outspeed the Nose Pass even after a single Rock Tomb though. That could affect things quite a bit. I'm going to give the Oranberry and just test this fight out. So Roxanne attempt number 1, we're going to bite the first Geodude. We get Rock Tombed. We're still reasonably fast here. We get a second Rock Tomb, but we're still outspeeding the first Geodude. She goes for the potion right there, and it does look like this is a 3-hit KO. So we do manage to get through the first of the Geodudes and get to level 9. We can now bite on the second Geodude. We get another Rock Tomb, but we're still faster than this Pokemon. It's only now that we're finally slower. In fact, in a speed tie, we were just on low health, so we lose. We might need really good luck with flinches here, but I'm going to run this a few times to see if I can get to Nose Pass. Here we get our first attempt at Nose Pass. We are slower because we've taken multiple Rock Tombs, and we're at low enough HP that we just get Rock Tombed down. We need more than like about 12 HP to not be able to be one-hit KO'd by that move. So I'm going to reset for a run where I only take one Rock Tomb before I get to the Nose Pass, just to see what that does. This time we get through the first Geodude with no Rock Tombs, and sure enough, we managed to get to the Nose Pass, and we're still faster with 18 speed. We have already used our Oran Berry though. We get Block turn 1, we get a Rock Tomb miss, now a flinch. Now we finally get Rock Tombed. We see it did 15 damage there, and it's just going to Rock Tomb me down from here because I don't have enough HP. So definitely not looking great, but it could be possible if we get there faster than that Nose Pass. So this time we get to the Nose Pass with only one Rock Tomb, and we still have the Oran Berry on, but we crit the first two Geodudes, leading to us never getting potions. So there are still 2 potions available to this Nose Pass. We flinch it, we get a critical hit after that. We're going to heal with our Oran Berry right here. It goes block and now uses its own Oran Berry, but it still has 40 HP of healing behind this, which is why we might not be able to win. Sure enough, we do not get through. Here we get to the Nose Pass, still above half health with an Oran Berry. We took one Rock Tomb, but we managed to crit the second Geodude, so it went down before it could use its potion. So she's got 30 HP of healing here as she uses her first Oran Berry. We're getting lots of flinches this time on the Nose Pass. She uses the potion right there, and now we just need crazy luck to get through this one. And unfortunately, we still couldn't get it to go. She still had 6 HP remaining. And that right there, I think, sums it up. Like, even with really, really good luck, we're simply not getting through the Nose Pass here. It's certainly worse luck than getting a critical hit, at least based on all my resets here. Raikou is closer to getting through this than Suicune is, but it ultimately just doesn't work out. And again, I think this is a Pokemon that if it were 2 levels higher in the medium slow level up group would in fact get through this fight because it would be doing significantly better damage. But the Nose Pass just takes so little there that it doesn't actually manage to work out. So I think we have to eliminate Raikou as well to move on to our next Regie. Now, of course, Regirock comes in here with massive defense and really good attack and special defense, but basically nothing in everything else. But I think we already know what the results of this one is going to be based on its starting moveset. I find it insane that they actually made Pokemon in this generation that are literally impossible in a solo challenge. Like, until this point, there was always some way to get through with a Pokemon in a solo setup from the start of the game. But this is the first time they were like, no, let's just make a set of Pokemon that actually cannot progress on their own. So here we'll pick up Regirock, of course, and we're going to have to start off with Explosion, go boom, lose to the Zigzagoon, because even though we knock it out, the game always treats ties as a loss for the player. And while we can progress after technically losing that fight, we have to come up here and fight May, and let's just see the end of Regirock. Of course, May has to be defeated. We go Explosion. We will one-shot against the little Mudkip here, but it is not enough. We get wrecked. And with that, we can eliminate another Pokemon. Of course, we know this is going to be the case of all the Regis, but it's worth at least just for completeness throwing them in here. Now let's get to the really terrible ones, though. We have to look at our Fire-type legendary Pokemon, and this is just going to be terrible. So, of course, it is Moltres time. We're coming in with massive special attack, good attack, and then kind of decent everything else. But we know what the result of this one is going to be. We just saw Articuno get completely wrecked due to its 4 times weakness to rock. Well, here's another Pokemon with a 4 times weakness to rock, and I'm not sure that it stands any chance here. Let's see what the starting moveset is, but I'm pretty willing to bet that we just get destroyed by the first Geodude on Roxanne's team. If it's like Gen 2, it's probably Ember and Wing Attack that we start with, but let's find out. And sure enough, Wing Attack and Ember. Wing Attack is at least a good flying type move. It should get us all the way to Hiker Devon with no issues, but we'll just have to see if the Hiker Devon is possible to beat with the stronger flying type move here, or if it's better to go for the Ember to get through there. I'm honestly not sure, but one way or the other, I expect this Pokemon just gets wrecked when we get to Roxanne. For now, let's take on the rival with her Mudkip and see how this goes. So against rival May, we can go for the Wing Attack. This is going to be a simple 2-hit KO because of the fact that it is a same type move and 60 power here in Gen 3. Gen 1 Moltres wishes that it got a flying type move this good, but unfortunately the best it could really get was Fly because Sky Attack was trash, and Peck was obviously a terrible move in the original generation, so, you know, take that for what you will. But now let's just make our way quickly to Hiker Devon and see if we can even beat that Hiker with this Pokemon. So here we are against Hiker Devon with our Moltres. I didn't heal coming into this, but here we can see that we do about 3 damage there with the Wing Attack. Ember is a lot stronger here because it is a special move. We get a nice crit even. So we are going to get through the first Geodude just fine with our Moltres. We get to the second one where we'll stick with the Ember. We get the nice burn here as well, but the Geodudes have much lower special defense than defense, so it's much better to just go for the same type fire type move. Even though it's not very effective there, it does at least take down Hiker Devon. I just don't think we have any chance against Roxanne. Like, we can go for the burns to try and see if we can reduce the damage, but our 4x weakness is probably too much to overcome here. I will give the Orange Berry just to find out, but I think a turn 1 burn is the only possible way we get through. Let's see how this goes. So Roxanne attempt number 1, we go for Ember and we get Rock Tombed and we die in a single hit. Let's see if we can survive 1 hit if we get the burn on the Geodude though. This time we get the Rock Tomb miss. So we actually did survive 2 turns. I mean, that's kind of nice, but really it's just about seeing what the damage is after the Ember burn. Here we finally burn the Geodude and we take 25 damage from the Rock Tomb, so we could not survive 2 turns here. Just another Rock Tomb is enough to knock out our Moltres, and it's on that basis that we can eliminate this Pokemon. It clearly is not progressing in the game. So that means it's Entei time, coming in with a lower special attack stat, more HP from the looks of it, but still not a very good stat spread. And as a fire type Pokemon, I just expect that the Rock Tombs completely destroy this one as well. Plus, I don't think we even get Ember. I'm pretty sure we just start with Bite, just like the other Gen 2 Legendary Trio Pokemon. And that makes me think that we're probably getting even more wrecked here because we won't even have the chance to get a burn to survive more turns. We're basically just going to be stuck spamming for flinches here. Sure enough, Bite and Leer is the starting moveset, and while it is enough to get us through that Zigzagoon, and it should be enough for all the randos here, I just don't think it's going to be enough for Roxanne herself. And you might say, if you're so confident you're going to lose, Teo, why are you even wasting the time on these? It's because I will always give a Pokemon a chance to get just insane luck to get through. It certainly can happen. Here against rival May, of course, we won't need any insane luck, just go Bite 3 times and get an easy victory. But we just have to keep in mind, like, we could get into the fight with Roxanne, and we could get a run where we just get so many flinches and misses that we actually get through, in spite of the fact that we have the weakness, just because we get God tier luck. And if it happens within a couple of resets, I'll totally take it. Partially just because I think it would be interesting to have a fire type continuing on in the challenge, and number 2, because it's just hilarious when you get that sort of luck. I've certainly seen it before in my runs, so I have to at least give it the chance to get the luck that it needs. Now, of course, we defeated Hiker Devon very easily here, though it did take 3 hits on both of his Geodudes, so we're going to get worse ranges than we were getting with Raikou just a little bit ago, but I think the more important factor is just the weakness. Like, even Suicune was probably doing about the same amount of damage as we're doing here, but Suicune could survive more hits because it was only neutrally affected by the Rock Tomb. Here, I think we're getting destroyed, but let's just see how this actually goes. So Roxanne attempt number 1, I've put on the Orange Berry. I'm going to Bite turn 1. We get a nice Rock Tomb miss there from the Geodude. Now Rock Tomb hits and it does 25 damage to us. So we're getting completely wrecked. Even after we use the Oran Berry, we just get 2 hit KO'd here. And it's on that basis that we can pretty easily say Entei is not going to get through this fight. It's simply not dealing enough damage. It's like a 4-hit KO on the first Geodude. She has the potion. We actually get through the first Geodude on the second attempt, but now we would need crazy luck on the second Geodude, and we don't get it. We get completely wrecked. So I think we can just eliminate Entei right there. So that's going to take us, of course, to Registeel, and I think we already know the conclusion, but let's just see how this Pokemon goes. So here, Registeel just comes in with really good defenses and kind of medium attack stats, but I just don't think that it's going to have the moveset that it needs to progress in this one, which is a shame because honestly, if it had a decent move, I think it would be perfectly fine to get through Roxanne. Between the defenses and the fact that it is steel type, so it would resist the rock type moves and resist the normal type moves, we would be able to take a lot of hits there. So I think you would just need some sort of steel type move to get through and you would be good to go. But here I will pick up Registeel inside of the Trico Ball, and we know the starting moveset is Explosion. Once again, we get completely wrecked. We would learn Metal Claw at level 9. So if we could just get to level 9, we would be perfectly fine, but you would not get a slow Pokemon to level 9 before Roxanne on minimum battles. So even if we were able to get new moves, like if we could somehow manage to get the XP from these fights, we would still get destroyed by Roxanne because we wouldn't have the move that we need to actually knock her out. So it's on that basis that we can just come here and fight against Rival May and eliminate this Registeel. We will just go boom right here on the Torchic, knocking it out, but knocking ourselves out. And because you have to beat May to progress in the game, Registeel is out of there. So coming back to our results so far after our first 9 challengers, we throw each and every one of them into the fail column. And don't get me wrong, if we gave decent moves to these Pokemon, I'm sure that they could actually progress. The problem is just that they don't get strong enough moves. The closest ones were the Raikou and the Suicune on the basis that they at least got neutrally effective bite and they weren't weak to the rock type. Articuno could probably get through as well if it actually got a move like Ice Beam rather than Powder Snow, but that's really all you can go for here. Otherwise, you're just getting wrecked with the rest of these Pokemon. I think the other ones could probably get through with some sort of like Hidden Power Grass plus a strong same type move and a lot of luck, but that's still asking a lot for these Pokemon. And at the end of the day, it's just not within the purview of their normal movesets. Maybe if a member wants to save them, they can get a chance, but for now, we're just going to have to move on without them. But now with that done, I'm going to look at a couple of my member picks up there, and I think I'm going to get into my ghost types, the Gengar and the Sableye, just so that we run them to the correct part of the game and see how they do in this section. So first up, we're going to have HolyFatFish's Gengar coming in here. And he said, just do whatever you want to do, Teo, for the moveset. So I'm going to come in with Hypnosis, Dream Eater, Giga Drain, and Shadow Ball. I think this moveset will get us through everything in this section and give us some strategies as we move on. And since Gengar can naturally get all the way to Roxanne and it's just Roxanne where it fails, I figured the Sleep plus Giga Drain would be a good strategy there. And if we run out of PP in those moves, at least our other 2 moves are decent as well, with Dream Eater healing us and Shadow Ball at least being neutrally effective in stab. So we're gonna have to get back to that fight. I have to start these from the beginning when I'm running the shinies, but let's just see how this goes against the rival. Of course, she can lead off with her Trico here, but I'm just going to go Shadow Ball, and it's going to be a simple 2-hit KO. We get the special defense drop, and she just goes Leer, so we get the easy victory, and nothing else can affect us on our way to Roxanne, so we should be able to get through these 2 Puchitas, completely destroy Hyger Devon with the Giga Drain, and then make our way straight to the gym. So now we do make it to Roxanne's gym with no issues, obviously, with a Ghost type. We can't take any damage from anything before her, but more importantly, we are here with a moveset that should at least give us decent chances. I'll still go with an Oranberry here just to be safe, because maybe we miss something and we have to heal up one time in the fight. But let's just see how this actually goes against Roxanne. Of course, in the original run, we got here with Lick being our only damage dealing move. It just doesn't deal enough damage to actually get through the gym. But here we're coming in with a much stronger set with the Giga Drain, with the Dream Eater, with the Shadow Ball. I think we'll be able to get it to go. Let's find out. So against the first Geodude, I'm just going to go straight for Giga Drain, and this move is enough to one-shot that Pokemon, getting us to level 11 as the second Geodude comes out. We stick with the Giga Drain here, another KO. We get to level 12, and now the final Nose Pass. I'm going Hypnosis, I miss, it goes Block against me. I can Hypnosis the next turn. Now I think I'll go for Giga Drain still since I've got a couple PP in the move. We can see it does very significant damage. She wakes up and Rock Tombs me, but I'm just going to go for another Hypnosis here, and then back to the Giga Drain, taking this one to low health. It's going to have to go for the Oran Berry. Since I'm not on full health, I will go for the Dream Eater here to get some HP back, especially because we know that she's got the potions in the bag. She's going to heal with her second potion as she stays asleep, and now we can just Dream Eater this Pokemon down. Turns out to be no issue getting through there, and we won't learn Mean Look. We don't need this move. No, we'll stick with our moveset exactly as it is. I think we can go into the next section and just completely stunt on Brawly, and then the question is going to be, how do we do against Watson and rival number 2, or technically rival 3, on the way up from Slateport to Mauville? But I think we'll at least have chances with this Gengar. We've got the speed, we've got the sleep tactics, we've got a decent amount of coverage with our moveset, so I think it's gonna actually not be that bad, but we'll just have to see. For now, hey, HolyFatFish, let me just give you a massive thank you for joining. It's coming up as only HolyFat here. But thank you very much for joining the channel membership and coming in to completely destroy Roxanne. So that is going to bring us to Sableye, the OPZombie, being supported by channel member OPZombie. And of course, this Pokemon did legitimately get through this section, but OPZombie wanted to give it a better moveset just in case it runs into trouble later on, which is perfectly legit. I mean, you can save a Pokemon that is not technically out of the running at this point if it's just one that you'd like to support through the series and give it every possible chance to actually complete the game. And here we're going to give this one a much better moveset than even what it had previously. Nightshade was enough to get this Pokemon through because of the medium slow level up group and because it has no weaknesses here. But this time we're going to be coming in with a new Sableye that is going to have Calm Mind, Recover, Toxic, and Feint Attack. So I'm just going to go Toxic right off the bat against the Zigzagoon, since that's obviously a pretty good strategy. And then we can just do anything since the Zigzagoon can literally do nothing against us. And honestly, as long as we can recover in battle, we can set up all the Calm Minds, I think, and just destroy Roxanne with the Feint Attacks. That's going to be the game plan as we move forward. Of course, against our rival, she can't damage us, and we can just sit here and spam Feint Attack over and over again, and it looks like it's a simple 3-hit KO here, so we get a nice, easy victory, and we're ready to move on in the game, where nothing will be any sort of challenge to us whatsoever until we get to Roxanne herself. So here, OPZombie makes it to Roxanne with no issues. I'm going to try to come in even without an Oran Berry on. What I'm going to do is set up Calm Mind here against the first Geodude. It does about 11 damage with the Rock Tomb. Now it's going Defense Curl, though. I'm just going to give it a Toxic first. Try to set up another Calm Mind here, and then let's just see if we can recover before it knocks me out. It does look like we're getting the recovery in. When I'm on high health, I will go for the Calm Mind. When I'm on low health, I will go for the Recover. Of course, she has the potion there, and basically Toxic is going to take this first Geodude down for us. So that's perfectly fine. Here we get the second Geodude. I'm just going to go for another Toxic on this Pokemon. It misses the first Rock Tomb, so I'm just going to do a little more setup right here. We can recover after that just to make sure we're on enough HP to not get KO'd. It goes Defense Curl. Now I can just finish my Calm Mind setup, and now we may as well just go for the Feint Attack, and here we'll just knock that Pokemon out. That will get us to level 12 as the Nose Pass comes out. I'm going to go Toxic first as it goes Block, and now let's just go for the fully powered up Feint Attack, doing massive damage that forces the Oran Berry, and she's taking the Toxic damage, so we easily get through there, and we will not learn Astonish with this Pokemon. I don't think we need such a weak move. No, the OPZombie is moving on in the game, and basically we can stall things out. We can go for the Calm Minds in order to be more survivable against special moves, as well as have the ability to then knock things out more easily with that Feint Attack. Deoxys-Attack. So I think there are a lot of decent opportunities to move on in this. We're going to have to see how Rival 2 goes. We're going to have to see how Watson goes, but I think we're going to have decent chances of progressing in the game. So let me just give a massive thank you to OPZombie. Again, slightly cutting off at the end, but thank you for supporting this OPZombie getting through this section of the game. I appreciate you. Thank you for joining the channel membership. But with that done, we can throw those two ghosts up into the pass column. But now before we progress, I'm not going to go straight to the psychic types here. I want to get to the Lugia and Ho-Oh, and also I want to look at the Latias here, and I just want to see how these Pokemon do. After that, we'll look at Kyogre, Groudon, and Rayquaza before we finally come back and just run through all of the psychic types at the end of the game to see how they go. But for now, let's start off with Ho-Oh, a Pokemon that I think gets completely wrecked here, but let's see if it's actually as bad as I think, because maybe Sacred Fire allows us to get burns more often and gives us a chance. So Ho-Oh, of course, comes in with massive special defense and really good attack to go together with good HP and good special attack. But we're going to have to see if this is enough with a move like Sacred Fire, which is what I assume it will start with based on the Gen 2 games. But we'll just have to see. Maybe it's been nerfed since then and we're just getting a worse moveset off the get-go. So here, let's just check the starting moveset, and it is Whirlwind. Oh no! Oh, this Pokemon's getting wrecked. It raises a very big question. Why would they have done that to this poor Pokemon? It doesn't get Sacred Fire until level 77, and it won't learn a damage-dealing move in this section of the game. Are you kidding me? Oh, we're getting destroyed with Ho-Oh. And that makes me think Lugia might be out of here, because it's probably been reduced to something like Whirlwind 2, if I have to guess. Why does Gen 3 hate the Gen 2, like, uber legendary birds so badly? So here against the rival, of course, we can just spam Whirlwind over and over again, but we're not going to be able to deal any damage. So we're just getting completely wrecked by this Mudkip because we couldn't do anything to it. And on that basis, I think we can just eliminate Ho-Oh right here. I mean, if we don't get any damage dealing moves at the start of the game, are you kidding me? They put this one in Magikarp tier. So let's just move on to Lugia, because at least Lugia is being saved by a channel member if it gets this sort of terrible moveset. So here, Lugia is coming in with a pretty similar stat spread to Ho-Oh, of course. It's just a little bit more defensive here, but I'm assuming that we're going to start with just a terrible trash moveset. Fortunately, Pokemon WWW411 Mark II has joined to support this Pokemon. In addition to his Pichu, he joined on Patreon and here on YouTube as a channel member. I cannot thank you enough for the double support. And now we just have to see if we can actually get this Pokemon through this section of the game. It's going to be pretty sus here with the starting moveset, I think, but let's just find out. So Lugia is coming into this section with Whirlwind. Yeah, we're not getting through with Whirlwind. Let's upgrade this moveset real quick. So we're going to restart this with the proper moveset that was given by Pokemon WWW411 Mark II. So let's see what we get on this Pokemon now. Here we come in with Surf, Psychic, Psybeam, and Earthquake. And this moveset should do much better for us because we can actually damage opponents now. The Surf should be the solution when we get to Roxanne. Earthquake will be on for later when we get to opponents like Watson and Flannery. So I think this Pokemon's going to have decent chances of actually progressing. First up here, we've got to take out the rival, where really we can go Earthquake or Psychic. It has the same defense and special defense. So let's just go Earthquake right here. It's going to be a simple 2-hit KO to get us through that, and we're ready to move on in the game. I don't expect to have any issues with any of the randos, so I'm running straight to Roxanne's gym in this one. Now, of course, Surf is enough for Hiker Devon. The real question is going to be against Roxanne, where we're going to have to see if we can survive against a Rock Tomb from the final Nose Pass. I expect that we'll be able to defeat the two Geodudes pretty easily, but the Nose Pass is going to have a lot of healing. We might have to fish for a freeze there to actually get through. Still, I'll give an Oranberry here just to test this out. Let's see how it goes. So Roxanne attempt number 1, I'm just going Surf on the first Geodude. That's an easy one-hit KO. Out comes the second Geodude here. We'll stick with the Surf, easily knocking that Pokemon out. And that now brings out the Nose Pass, where I think I'm going to go for the Ice Beam here to see if I can freeze. We see we did very, very little damage. We take 23 damage from a Rock Tomb. Let me just see what Surf does. It obviously does better damage here, and we get a critical hit to knock the Nose Pass out after it blocks. Oh, Roxanne goes down on the first attempt. Easy victory. And with that, Pokemon WWW411 Mark II is ready to move on in the game. So it turns out that all you needed to do was actually give Lugia some moves, and it's perfectly fine in this section. So let me just give a massive thank you to Pokemon WWW411 Mark II. Your name is too long, it's overflowing the entire section here, but you have saved Lugia and you've saved the little Pichu, so thank you for that. Thanks for supporting the channel. You're moving on to the next section. So with that, let's get to Latias, coming in with really high speed, special defense, and defense, and still decent everything else. The question is, as a dragon psychic Pokemon, are we going to be able to get through this section? Will we get any moves that are strong enough? I'm honestly not sure. We're in the slow level up group, and we've got the levitate ability, which obviously means nothing here in this section of the game. We're just going to have to see what we actually get as we progress. And I already have a sneaking suspicion what our moveset is. I believe I've seen a solo run previously with this Pokemon, so I think I know what we get. If I recall correctly, this is one where we might be able to get through, but we're going to have to struggle. Let's just see how this actually works out, though. Here, Latias is coming in with Psywave and Wish. Yes, the moveset that I expected. And the Psywave means that this is incredibly luck-based to get through the early parts of the game, and we will not learn another level up move. Helping Hand comes in at level 10, but that's really not going to do anything for us here. So this is all about the Psywave strats, and I'm not sure that Psywave is going to be enough to actually get us through Roxanne. Still, let's just test and see how this goes. We've got to get through Rival May, then we're going to have to struggle on the 2 Poochyenas. Maybe we get through Hiker Devon, and then maybe we have a chance. I'm just saying it's probably not a good one. Here against May, we can go for the Psywave. We're getting pounded by the Trico, but we are doing better damage than Trico's doing with its pound, so we are at least going to get through that first fight. Now we have to go to the Poochyenas. I'm going to spam the Wish and hope that I heal enough that I can manage to avoid having to go to fight wild Pokemon to get to struggle. Maybe it works out. We'll just have to test this and see. So first Poochyena, I'm going straight for Wish, and then we'll just spam the Psywave here, and we'll just wish every other turn and then go for Psywave and just hope that we don't get knocked out. That's basically the game plan until we run out of PP in our moves. Fortunately, we don't have a lot of PP, so it might be possible to get to struggle and then get a victory here. If we do get through, it's only because of the wish, though. We got a critical hit there that caused us to lose. But it turns out that we simply get on too low health to actually use up our PP naturally in battle and struggle. So we're gonna have to use the struggle strat as if we had gone up against wild Pokemon. Now, of course, we can come into a battle with 1 wish just so that we can get some healing and then go to our struggles, and we should be able to knock the opponent out this way. So we'll have to test the wish struggle strats here to see how they go, but I'm just gonna stick with struggle as I go to the next of the Poochyenas in Petalburg Woods. And of course, after getting through the Petalburg Woods, we can heal and we can actually use Psywave on Hiker Devon. Let's see how this actually goes. Since we're at level 6, I believe we do between 3 and 9 damage each time we use the move, which is better than having something like Tackle here, so we'll take that, but it's just a question of whether or not we can get the ranges we need to knock these Pokemon out within our allotted PP. Here we level up to level 7 on that first Geodude though, and as long as we knock out this second Geodude, we will be able to get to level 8 as we go into the Roxanne fight, so we're now doing between 8 and 12 damage, with 8 being the average, of course. I believe that would make the Geodudes a 5-hit KO on average, but of course with a little bit of variance. Then the Nose Pass would be like a 5-hit KO as well on average. We'll just have to see if we can actually get through. Let's see if this works or not. So Roxanne attempt number 1 right here. I'm going to Psywave first, and we see that our first hit did exactly 8 damage. We get a better roll on the next one. She Rock Tombs against me, doing 11 damage here. I'm going to go for my Wish and now go back to Psywave, just hoping that I can get a good roll. I think we go back to the Wish here as we're getting Rock Tombed. We use our Oranberry right there as she starts defense curling, and now we're just going to need to actually land hits and get good rolls. We will knock out this first Geodude at least. That brings us to the second Geodude as we level up to level 9. I'm going to lead off with a Wish here to recover some HP. We missed the Psywave right there. We'll have to heal and go back to the Psywave after that. We get a couple of Psywave misses, which is pretty bad. We're on low health here. I'm going for the Wish again. It misses the Rock Throw, but now it simply Rock Throws me down. So we're going to have to test this again. We're also getting on fairly low PP, so we may need to go for like a Lepa Berry here to have a chance. Of course, if she just crits me twice, I lose. So we're going to need some luck there as well, but I'm going to go for the Lepa Berry in order to get some PP back. And let's see if just with the Wish stretch, we can find some way through here. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to Wish turn 1. We don't mind the defense curl from the Geodude, but now when it Rock Tombs, we'll at least be able to heal back, set up another Wish, and now we're just really hoping that we can hit good Psywave rolls here. So once again, we will get through the first Geodude. We're going to go for the Wish again on the second Geodude. It hits the Rock Tomb, dealing significant damage. We're in a speed tie now, but we do get a heal. I'm just going to stick with the Wish strats as she goes for the Rock Throw against me. We are in a speed tie, so she's not just going to go Rock Tomb against me at least. We force the potion right there, and now I'm going hard on the Psywave because I need to get the PP back in this move. So we do use our Lepa Berry. I'll go for Wish again here. We're on very low health, unfortunately, but we do knock out that Pokemon. That brings out the Nose Pass. We heal with our Wish. I'm going to just go back for the Wish here. And now let's see if we can get enough damage with the Psywave. We have one more Wish available to us, so we're going to have to use it very judiciously. She gets me on pretty low health, and now she just Rock Tombs me down. I didn't know when she was going to use Tackle and when she won't, so we probably should have used it as soon as we got damaged there, but unfortunately, it just didn't work out for me. So here we get back to the Nose Pass once again on full health, and we still have 5 Wishes remaining. The real issue is that we need good damage from the Psywaves here. When I'm on anything less than 100% health, I'm going to go for Wish so that I can heal back after that. She does appear to be tackling against me. I'm down to my last Psywave, but there we do in fact get through with Latias. It's going to be in the struggle column because it didn't actually manage to get through the Puchitas without having to use up PP outside of battle. We just couldn't survive after all the howls, but it does ultimately find a way through Roxanne. So Latias can at least get through this fight without XP from optional battles. So take that for what you will, but it will go in that struggle column. But now before we get into our 2-member pick Latios, we need to just see how Latios does normally here and why it's a Pokemon that absolutely has to be saved. We come in with a fairly similar stat spread to Latias, of course, with higher special attack and lower special defense. So just a little bit more offensive here, but basically pretty close to the same after that. The real difference is going to be this starting moveset, because here our Latios starts off with the same move Psywave, but then the move Memento, the dark type move. The problem is that if we use Memento, we simply knock ourselves out. That means that we can't even get to struggle to actually get through the Puchitas, which is why this Pokemon is impossible. It simply fails as soon as it gets to a Puchina. Whereas Latias can at least get to struggle and then knock those Pokemon out. We also don't have the healing, so we know that we would basically underperform the Latias. But that's all right, because we've got 2 separate channel members who are saving different versions of this Pokemon. We're going to start with Warsword4 from over on Patreon, where he's going to give this Pokemon just 2 moves that are actually going to save it. Never mind that Deoxys right there, that's coming later. But basically, we've probably thrown on the minimal moves that are required to actually progress through this part of the game. So let's just check the moveset that Warsword gave it. Here as we pick up our Latios this time, we're going to be coming in with a starting moveset of Psywave, Memento, Water Pulse, and Dragon Claw. Of course, for this first Zigzagoon, we're just going to spam the Psywave to get through, but here our Raptor should be able to get through. Of course, it's named after the fighter jet, and here I think Warsword is just going to have a pretty easy time getting through this section of the game. Now, of course, we can take on the rival with our Latios, and we'll just go for Dragon Claw since it's same type. It easily gets us through that fight. And now with our moveset, we really shouldn't have any issues against any randos. I'm going to make my way straight to Roxanne. Let's see how she likes a Water Pulse Dragon Claw using Latios here. Of course, in this generation, water and dragon type moves are always special, so they just make a lot of sense to use against those Geodudes since they'll deal pretty significant damage. And of course, you can knock out Devon's 2 Geodudes just with the Dragon Claw. Of course, Water Pulse will be stronger against the Geodudes on Roxanne's team since it is 4 times super effective. But against the Nosepass, Water Pulse and Dragon Claw are effectively the same power. So we're just going to have to see which one actually turns out to be better here. Of course, the chance to confuse with the Water Pulse may be the way to go, but let's just test this fight and see. I'll throw on an Oran Berry just to be safe. So here with our Raptor, we're just going to come straight in and go for Water Pulse on the first Geodude, getting the 1-hit KO. We get the level 9. Second Geodude comes out and gets completely destroyed as well, and that brings out the Nosepass. I'm going to go Water Pulse first, hoping for the confusion here. We don't get it there, but we'll just stick with this move until we get it confused at least. She's going to have potions and Oran Berries here, but we confuse the Nosepass. As she goes for the second potion, we can go for the Dragon Claw here just because it looks cool. And there we go. We get the very easy first attempt victory. We could learn Helping Hand, but why would we when we've got this moveset? We'll easily just move on in the game. Now, the question is, how will this Pokemon do in the next section? We resist the electric type moves, so we should at least have a chance in Watson's gym. And I don't think we've got a lot to fear from rival number 3. So we'll just have to see how it goes. But for now, let me give a massive thank you to Warsword, supporting over in Patreon in the Hoenn Champion tier. It's a massive amount of support. I cannot thank you enough for supporting this Pokemon and joining as a patron. We're going to keep running this one up, and we may have to make adjustments as we go through the run by adding on other moves or forgetting moves. But for now, hey, Latios, the Raptor named after the fighter jet, I believe it's what, the F-15 Raptor, if I recall correctly, is moving on in this one. But as mentioned, we're doubling up on the Latios here because TheKakeKing also joined as a patron to get a second Pokemon saved, and he really wanted the Latios. I kept getting a message from him and saying that it was okay, and then realizing that another member had already chosen the Pokemon that he wanted. It happened with Ampharos before. When it got to Latios, I was just like, I'm just going to give him Latios too. Of course, if either of you guys would like to change and not be doubled up, that's perfectly fine. But for now, we're running the double Latios here, and I think this is perfectly fine as we go through this. And let's see what moveset we got from TheKakeKing here. We are coming in with a moveset of Psywave, Thunderwave, Mud Slap, and Fury Cutter. A much weaker set overall, but the logic here was pretty simple. TheKakeKing wanted me to do the minimum that would be required to progress, and he wanted the Thunder Wave on because it's a shout out to his favorite character, Ryuji Sakamoto, from the game Persona 5. He felt like he needed an electric type move. So we're going to run that, and we're going to see how this goes. He's demanded that we add Shockwave once we get the ability to do so, but we're going to have to see if this moveset is enough to get us through Watson, or do we need further upgrades? We'll just test it and see. For now, we can take on the rival, and this is kind of an interesting spot because we could go for the Fury Cutter strat in order to just build up damage over time and reach the point where we deal so much damage that we get pretty easy wins. We haven't tried a Fury Cutter strat yet on Roxanne, but it could be a legit strategy for getting through that fight. Maybe we go for like a couple of Mud Slaps and then start Fury Cutter build up in order to try to reach a point where we can one-shot Pokemon. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we'd ever actually one-shot against the Nosepass, or if it would top out at maybe being a 2-hitter, but still, we should test this and see just how it actually works. So let's get into these fights. Obviously, against the Puchinas, Fury Cutter is a pretty good strat since they are weak against the bug type move, but of course, if I come in without healing, it's pretty easy to get wrecked here. Still, we get through youngster Calvin on the second attempt, and we should be able to progress from here if I just heal properly. So of course, Mud Slap, Fury Cutter strats are enough to get to Roxanne herself. The real question is how we do in this gym. I think we lead off with some Mud Slaps first to lower accuracy, and then maybe we try to set up that Fury Cutter to see if it does enough damage. Let's just see how this actually works out. So Roxanne attempt number 1, I'm going straight for Mud Slap on the first Geodude. We get the Rock 2 miss turn 1, a Rock 2 miss turn 2. I think I'm going to go about 3 Mud Slaps on this first Pokemon, and then I'm just going to try to set up the Fury Cutter and see what it does for me. We get a couple of Rock Tombs, of course, as she goes now for the potion, but we're just slowly building up the Fury Cutter. The real problem is it just doesn't seem to do that much damage. We're probably better off with the Psywave there if I have to guess. So I think we go really hard on the Mud Slaps here at the start, and now we start Psy-waving against this Pokemon, hoping that we get good ranges with this move. That will be enough to at least get us to the second Geodude, so I'm going to go back into the Mud Slap spam here, just seeing if I can manage to get the range. The problem at this point is that we probably don't have enough HP to actually survive against the final Nose Pass, and we just get knocked out there. So we're going to need pretty good luck to get through these first 2 Geodudes, since we are taking 11 to 12 damage per hit from their rock-type moves. So this time we at least get to Nose Pass. We're already slower. It goes hard in turn 1. I used my last Mud Slap right there, and now I think I'm going Fury Cutter, hoping that it builds up enough that I can deal significant damage. Of course, she can use a lot of hardens here. We're at the point where we would just be knocked out by the Rock Tomb, so we did not get it there. Psywave might be the better move at this point. What I can say is that at most we can only take 1 Rock Tomb from each of the Geodudes. Otherwise, we simply won't have the HP to survive against the Nose Pass. So what I can say after testing this for a little while is that this strategy just doesn't work. The Mud Slap doesn't deal enough damage, you can't build up Fury Cutter enough, and then Psywave is just Psywave, but with no healing, unlike the Latias. So we're going to have to change the moveset here because it's just not strong enough to get through. So I'm going to test this with Ice Beam and see what that does for us. Of course, if we come in with Ice Beam, it's super effective on the first Geodude. That will get the 1-hit KO there. Second Geodude, it will also one-shot. I'm throwing on Ice Beam because it shouldn't one-shot here against the Nose Pass. Sure enough, not even close. But this is the point where we can now set up all of our Mud Slaps in order to lower this Pokemon's accuracy, noting that we could very easily be 2-hit KO'd here by the Rock Tomb if we're not careful. So I'm just going to give it the maximum amount of accuracy drops that I can, and now go back into the Ice Beam. We get the Freeze, and this looks like it's going to be a 4-hit KO from there. Sure enough, it is, but we do finally manage to get through. So it's one of those things where you would think that coming in with the move like Mud Slap would get you through because of accuracy strats or Fury Cutter with the buildup, but they just don't deal enough damage because the opponents are too defensive, and we don't have a same type attack bonus or anything else to lean on with that Mud Slap strat. So at the end of the day, it just doesn't really work here. You would much rather use a super effective move if you're gonna save a Pokemon like this. So Ice Beam turns out to be enough to get through the Geodudes. Then you can find your way through that final Nose Pass without too much difficulty, and that's what it takes to actually get this one through. Still, we'll be running with some electric type moves as we get later into this, and we'll just have to see how it works out. But for now, this Latios does get through. So for now, let me just give a massive thank you to TheKakeKing for supporting both this Flaffy and the Latios that we just saw Ryuji, and you are moving on in the game with both of your Pokemon. We're gonna have to see how they do in that next section. We had to go a little more OP than you were asking for, but I think that's what we had to do in order to get it to work, at least within a reasonable amount of time that I can get the rest of the video done. So just take that for what you will. Anyway, thank you very much for your support. Let's get back to our action here. But now, before we get into the rest of our action, let's quickly check in on our other 2 member picks that are still hanging out up there, the Snorlax and the Houndoom. I'm going to do the Houndoom first. Let's just see how this goes. So Houndoom is coming in supported by channel member Mobile Gaming Chronicles, and this Pokemon completely broke down at Roxanne previously. It just didn't have enough attack power to get through. It doesn't learn a dark type move early on in the game, so it was stuck with Ember there, and it really just wasn't dealing enough damage, which is why we are giving this one an upgraded moveset to see if it can find a way through in this case. Now, Mobile Gaming Chronicles has given it a completely illegal moveset, but on the basis of just making it the single strongest Houndoom that has ever existed in the history of the Pokemon franchise. So let's see what we get. Our Houndoom comes in with the moveset of Spore, Iron Defense, Sunny Day, and Solar Beam. And of course, the PP amounts are all incorrect because normally I would be doing this a different way. So I am going to give myself some Solar Beam PP just to get through this fight more quickly. So with this moveset, I think we have a chance to get through because we'll put the Pokemon on Roxanne's team to sleep, set up Sunny Day, and then go for the Solar Beam to knock those Pokemon out. Obviously, Sunny Day Solar Beam is perfectly fine. It's the Spore and Iron Defense that you would never see on this Pokemon, but we'll just have to see how this actually works out as we go forward. Of course, here for the Rivals Mudkip, we can just put it to sleep and now go Solar Beam to knock that Pokemon out in a single hit. And now we're ready to move on in the game where we shouldn't have any issues until we get to Roxanne. So let's just get straight to the gym leader. So just like that, we do manage to make our way to Roxanne here. Let's see if we can just manage this win on the first attempt with our Houndoom DarkRising. Let's just see if it's enough. So first up on the Geodude, we're going to put it to sleep with the Spore. Now we set up Sunny Day, and in the harsh sunlight, we're simply going to knock this Pokemon out with a Solar Beam. Easy victory right there as we get to level 9. That will bring out the second Geodude. We can simply Solar Beam this one down, and that will bring out the final Nose Pass, which we do outspeed. We can put it to sleep with Spore. The sunlight remains strong, so we can just Solar Beam after that, doing about half to this Pokemon as the sunlight finally fades. I will set up Sunny Day again after it has used the Oranberry. Nose Pass wakes up and hits the Rock Tomb, one hit KOing my Houndoom. We're gonna have to try this one again. There is an argument for going for Iron Defense here, but I'm going to try to get through with this setup first, since we basically have free KOs on the two Geodudes. And we know that she's going to heal at some point on this Nose Pass. I think we just need to keep it asleep for enough turns. This time Nose Pass stays asleep as I reset up Sunny Day. It wakes up and goes Rock Tomb, but it misses and she's going to have Potion here, I think. We'll just put this Pokemon back to sleep as the sunlight remains strong. Solar Beam, and that will force her final Potion as the sunlight fades. I'm going to set up Iron Defense here and even set it up again so that we're as defensive as possible until this Nose Pass finally wakes up. I'll set up Sunny Day again right here as it finally wakes up and goes Harden against me. We can just put this Pokemon back to sleep, and now it should just take 2 more Solar Beams to knock this one out. And sure enough, we get the victory. So just like that, only a couple attempts there on Roxanne to get the job done. And our Houndoom is now moving on in the game. So let me give a massive thank you to Mobile Gaming Chronicles for supporting this Houndoom here. Definitely not a legal moveset, but it's hilarious anyway to see that Houndoom is using Spore and Iron Defense. So we'll see how far we can take this. It might be funny to try to take on the fighting gym next in spite of our weakness there. So, you know, maybe it works out. We'll just check and see. Of course, later on, we could learn some other moves. We skipped Howl here, but honestly, we would want to get to Flamethrower with this Pokemon. That's probably the strategy when we actually get to Mauville, is to get access to that move and just see if it's enough to get us through the next section. For now, though, we are moving on. Saved Pokemon Snorlax right here. It was saved by new Patreon member Tyler Cornell. We're coming in with Locuseth, named for his online handle, and we are going to be trying to run this Snorlax through this section of the game, hopefully a lot stronger than the standard Snorlax that got completely wrecked by Roxanne. So let's see what moves we got as we come into this one. Of course, we'll get the Snorlax in the Trico Ball, and our starting moveset has been upgraded to Hidden Power Flying, Return, Brick Break, and Curse. So of course, we can just simply use that to knock out this Zigzagoon. Let me make sure I've got the IVs set properly for Hidden Power Flying as we go through this one. So here against the rival, we can just come in and spam Return since it's our strongest move. And even after a couple growls, we get a very easy victory there, and we're ready to move on in the game. With Brick Break, we should be just fine when we get to Hiker Devon. The real question is how we do against Roxanne herself. So let's just see. Curse plus Brick Break strats should be enough to get us through here, but let's find out. But in fact, because our speed is so low, I think we might get an advantage by just going to Roxanne before Hiker Devon and just seeing if we can set up a bunch of curses on the first Geodude and then just sweep through the team with the Brick Break. So let's just see how this goes. I'm going to give an Oranberry right here and then just test this out one time before I even go take on Hiker Devon. So here in this one, we'll simply curse right off the bat. We get a defense curl from the first Geodude, but I think that's perfectly fine. Rock Throw does about 10 damage to me, but I'm just going to keep cursing at this Geodude until I get the maximum amount of power. It decided to go for a lot of Rock Throws on me, which is a bit of a problem. But now once we are all the way powered up, we'll go for the Brick Break and deal some pretty significant damage here. We get a critical hit to just knock out that Geodude. That gets us to level 7 as the second Geodude comes out. It defense curls turn 1, and we're already way slower than this Pokemon. She has to use a potion right there. She's going to use a second potion, and now just one more hit should knock this one out. The Rock Throw didn't do that much. That brings us to the Nose Pass as we get to level 8. We can just go for the Brick Break right here, and it nearly one-shots the Nose Pass. It goes for Tackle, and we knock it out the next turn. So with this setup, you don't even need to go fight Hiker Devin. You're better off just coming in here already being slower than all of the Geodudes and using Curse to just be the slowest possible Pokemon in the history of the Pokemon franchise, but at the same time having the massive attack power and defense. That's all you need to get through Roxanne. So Curse strats, perfect for this fight, and it does allow this Snorlax to move on in the game. So let me give a massive thank you to Tyler Cornell for supporting this Snorlax. Locuseth is going to move on into the next section, and hey, the Brick Break should be enough, I think, to get us through Watson. We'll just have to see, and I think we'll be able to find a way through the rival. We probably will avoid Brawly at the beginning at least, just because of our type weakness, though who knows, maybe we could find a way to set up there as well. Anyway, massive thank you for joining and supporting, and with that, we're ready to move on in this challenge. So with that, we can move all but one of the channel member picks up into that pass column. We just have that Rayquaza still waiting there. So I figure we should get into those 3 beasts from this generation, Kyogre, Groudon, and Rayquaza, and see how they go before we finish out with all of our psychic types in this one. Let's start off with that Kyogre though. Let's see if the Water God Pokemon can do something here. Maybe it gets a good water type move to start the game. That would be pretty nice. And if that's the case, we should be able to get through this section. So Kyogre comes in with pretty massive stats all the way around. Its speed and defense are the lowest stats that it has, but it has a really good special attack. So as long as we start with a water type move, I think we're good to go. But that is the question. What is the starting moveset? So as we pick up our Kyogre to start this one, we've got the Drizzle ability, which causes rain, and we come in with Water Pulse and Scary Face. Very nice. Water Pulse should be enough to get us through this section of the game, I think. Let's just see if it's actually enough. But of course, with rain, that's going to power up our water type moves. So our Water Pulse is effectively 1.5 times stronger here, which could really make it OP in this section. So here against the rival, of course, she's got the Trico that resists our move, but still, I think Water Pulse is going to do pretty well. It looks like it might just be a 2-hitter, and we confuse the Trico, so it just hits itself, and we get the easy victory. And now we're ready to move on in this section. There's no way that any of the randos give us any trouble in this one. We're going straight to Roxanne, and I think we're going to do pretty well there. I'm pretty sure the 2 Geodudes are just going to be one-shots, but even the Nose Pass might take some pretty significant damage here, since we've got automatic weather. So of course we completely stunt on Hiker Devin in this one. Now we have to see about Roxanne though. I predict we one-shot the first 2 Geodudes, and then I'm going to guess that we've maybe 2-hit KO against the Nose Pass, but let's just see. I will give an Oranberry just to be safe in this one, but I think we're going to get through pretty easily on this first attempt. So Roxanne attempt number 1 right here. She leads off with the Geodude. It starts raining, and we go for the Water Pulse, 1-hit KOing that Pokemon. We get to level 9. That will bring out the second Geodude. Rain continues to fall as we knock it out with a Water Pulse, and we make it on to the Nose Pass. It's still rainy out here. We hit the Water Pulse. It goes Harden, and this is a 2-hit KO from this range. She goes for the Oranberry and still gets knocked out in 2 hits. So just like that, Kyogre completely crushes the first gym. Now the question is, how do we do in the next section? I think we have to go to Brawly first, and then Watson might come down to Confusion Luck. We will learn Ancient Power at level 15 and Body Slam at level 20, but then we don't get another level up move until Calm Mind at level 30. So that's going to be kind of weird. I don't think we get to the Calm Calm Mind in that next section. Rock Tomb is an available TM, but there's not a whole lot that we can learn in this next part of the game, so we're just gonna have to see how this actually works out. Still, Kyogre moves on. Let's check in on Groudon. So Groudon comes in with massive attack and defense and lower speed and special defense, but pretty much mirroring what we saw with the Kyogre just a minute ago. Still, this once again comes down to the moveset. We want some sort of ground type move here that will be super effective against Roxanne, and if this Pokemon gets through, it's gonna definitely stunt on Watson and have a good matchup against Flannery, so it could go pretty far in this one, I think, but it just depends on what it starts with. So here our Groudon comes in with a starting moveset of Mudshot and Scary Face. So Mudshot gives us that ground type move that we wanted, and that we just have to see if it's actually enough to get us through Roxanne, though, given that her Pokemon do have pretty good defense. So even though we've got that massive attack stat, I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to be like one-hit KOing. It's probably more like a two-hit KO if I have to guess, but we do at least get to deal some damage with a super effective move, so we'll take that. This is another Pokemon that will learn Ancient Power at level 15 and then Slash at level 20, and then Bulk Up is its next level up learn set move, so we could get Bulk Up by just beating Brawly. For now, though, we'll just have to come and fight the rival. Of course, she will resist our Mudshot with this Trico, but it still does about half, and we're able to get an easy two-hit KO there. I have to think that we'll get through all the randos with this Pokemon as well, so once again, it's just about Roxanne. The ranges might not be quite as good with this one, but we do have the resistance to the rock-type moves, so it might still work out just fine. Now, of course, we did get through Hiker Devon, but it was a two-hit KO with Mudshot on each of his Geodudes. And that's the main difference here. We're not going to like one-hit KO since we don't have a 4-time super effective special move. Still, we should be able to get decent enough ranges, so let's just see how this actually works out. I'm definitely giving the Oranberry in this one, though, in order to help us heal in the middle of battle. So Roxanne attempt number 1, we can see Mudshot looks to be a 2-hit KO on this first Geodude. We do manage to knock that first one out. We get to level 9 as the second Geodude comes out. More of the same, she goes for a defense curl and then goes for the potion here. Still, that allows us to knock that Pokemon out as we get to the final Nose Pass. It hits block, we hit Mudshot, and now we're just going to keep spamming this move. It looks like a 3-hitter here. We get a Rock Tomb, but that's not really a big deal. She goes for her second potion there, and the Rock Tomb hits again, but it really doesn't matter. We're getting the speed drops too with our move, and we simply win on the first attempt, getting to level 10 here, and Roxanne never stood a chance against a Groudon. So we finally get a couple of these like super legendary Pokemon through, but now we have to see how Rayquaza does here, and if it gets any sort of move that's actually good against Roxanne as a flying dragon type. Does it just get completely wrecked due to its type weakness? We're just gonna have to see. So channel member Cancrix decided to support this one, naming it Stratos, but we're going to start off by just seeing if it's actually possible to get through with this Pokemon normally, as it is the box legendary. It's got high special attack and attack, but then a little bit less in everything else. It's got more speed than defense, which is a little nerve-wracking. We're just going to have to see how this actually goes. So here we'll see the starting moveset of this Pokemon is going to be Twister and Scary Face. We've seen the Twister strats before with the Dragonite, and it wasn't enough. The real question is, with the higher special attack stat of this Rayquaza, does it manage to get through where that Dragonite failed? Do we need crazy critical hit luck? Let's just test this and see. First up, we've got the rival. Of course, we can go Twister here, and it's a simple 2-hit KO on that Trico. And now we can simply progress in this game, where I'm honestly not sure if we're going to need to talk about anything other than Roxanne, but Roxanne might actually be a wall for this one. So here we do make it to Roxanne with this Pokemon, and the question is just how much damage does that Twister do against each of these Pokemon? I'm going to give the Oranberry, of course, but I'm not feeling super confident. We're gonna probably have to go through this again with Cancrix's chosen OP moveset to actually get through, but let's just test it and find out. So Roxanne attempt number 1, we go for the Twister on the first Geodude, and this appears to be a 3-hitter, and we take 25 damage from that first Rock Tomb. Yes, we could get Rock Tomb misses, or we could get a crit, or we could get a random defense curl, but it's really not looking good here. We get knocked out by the second Geodude. Let's try this again. Like, I think we would need at least 1 flinch on the first Geodude. This time we do manage to get through to the nose pass at least. It goes Harden turn 1, and now it goes block, but we can see that our Twister is only doing about 6 damage per hit. Rock Tomb takes me to super low HP, and then we simply get destroyed. So I think that's basically all that we really need to see. Like, Roxanne's team is just perfectly made to destroy the box legendary of this generation, which is pretty sad, honestly. Like, to have the box legendary not be able to beat the first gym. Here, I mean, we get a nice critical hit with a flinch, so we will get back to the nose pass at least, but then we simply get knocked out. So with that, let's get to the proper moveset of this Rayquaza here and just see how it actually performs when we give it some decent moves. Because channel member Cancrix decided to give this one a significant upgrade. We'll pick up our Rayquaza this time in the Torchic Ball, and let's see the starting moveset of Surf, Earthquake, Dragon Claw, and Fly. And we can basically say this is going to get us through. I mean, we've got Surf for the rocks. We could also go Dragon Claw if we run out of Surf PP for some reason, but really there's no reason to do anything other than Surf here. And we should be able to pretty easily stunt on all of these trainers as we go through this section of the game. Here, when we take on May, we're simply going to go Dragon Claw here and get a 1-hit KO on that Mudkip. And with that, there's nothing to really stand in front of us until we get to Roxanne herself. So sure enough, we make our way to Roxanne. Let's just see how this goes with the upgraded moveset. Of course, we're going to lead off with Surf on the first Geodude, getting an easy 1-hit KO. That will bring out the second Geodude, where we'll just stick with the same 1-hit KO once again, and that will bring us to the final Nose Pass. Now here, I'm going to go Surf. It does about half. We get Harden from the Nose Pass as it uses the Oran Berry. She misses the Rock Tomb. Now she has to Potion. She's going to Potion a second time, and now we simply get the win with Stratos here. We are simply too strong for Roxanne. Once you throw on Surf onto this Pokemon, you just get a win. And now we have to move on in the game. In the next section, of course, we'll be resistant to fighting with the flying type, so we can probably go straight to Brawly. And at least against Watson, we're only neutrally affected by electric type moves, and we've got Earthquake. So I have to think we're getting through. I don't see what the rival's going to do against this Pokemon, so I think Cancrix's Stratos is going to be running for quite a while here, and we're just going to have to see if it ever hits a wall, but for now, it's going to move on in the game. So let me give a massive thank you to Cancrix for supporting this Rayquaza and getting it in the running for the next section. It's kind of sad to see these flying dragon types get wrecked at this point, so it's good to know at least that if you gave them a super effective move like Surf, they can in fact get through. Somebody might have to come in and try to save Salamence so that we can get that one in as well, but for now, Rayquaza moves on in this challenge. So coming back to our results so far, we can see we now have 44 member pick Pokemon all up there in that pass column. And there are still a few members who haven't made picks already, and there are quite a few really good Pokemon down there in that fail column. Of course, I mentioned Salamence earlier. We've got the Regis now. We've got Altaria. Just tons and tons of Pokemon that could absolutely use a save, and it goes a massively long way to supporting me and my family when you join as a channel member. So go ahead and think about doing that if you'd like to save one of these Pokemon. But for now, let's get back into the action. We have our Psychic types, and I think I'm going to do this pretty simply. I'm going to save Mewtwo and Deoxys for the end. Let's get through our mythical Pokemon first. The Mew, the Celebi, and the Jirachi. They all have the same stat totals, but with different movesets and different typings. Of course, Mew coming in as the pure Psychic type. I'm going to lead off with that one and just see how it goes. So of course, Mew comes in first with a simple base 100 in every stat. We're not going to use the data that RBY guy had because of course he messed up the Mew by taking a few optional battles, didn't even know how to get through Flannery's gym without fighting optional trainers. So clearly we've got to correct this, and we will as we go through this series. But for now, we just have to expect that Mew gets through. I mean, it learns every TM and HM in the game, which means, of course, that it can get access to Bullet Seed. And because it's going to have access to that move, it will have a super effective move to use against Roxanne's team. I have to think that will be enough. I expect it to just come in knowing Pound at the start of the game. That's been the standard starting Mew set since the beginning of the franchise. But I think this will still turn out to be enough because of the TM availability. So here we pick up our Mew inside of the Mudkip ball this time, and we're trying to go Pound. Of course, our Mew is disobedient, and there is a reason for that. You have to have Mew as a fateful encounter in order for it to actually obey. Fortunately, I have the power to make my Mew a fateful encounter so that we can actually get it to run through the entire game. It won't show in any of the pages, but I promise you it is now an obedient Mew, though I did find that sometimes the fateful encounter flag will flip off again, so we're going to have to be a little careful as we run through this, but we should generally have obedience from here on out. We'll have to do the same thing with Deoxys later, but that's perfectly fine. We'll just mess with it when we get there. First up, we've got to take on May here with her Trico. We can go Pound, and it looks like a simple 3-hit KO from our Mew. We took 7 damage from her Pound after a Leer, but it really wasn't that big a deal. We easily win on the first attempt. And now, because we have Pound, we should be perfectly fine for all of the Puchinas that are upcoming, and then we just have to get the Bullet Seed. That should be enough for Hiker Devon, and then it's just on to Roxanne. What I am interested to see, though, is how the non-stab Bullet Seed does for us, since this is like only the second or third time we've gotten Bullet Seed without it being a same type move. It might not turn out to be as strong as it would be on other Pokemon, but maybe our stats simply make up for that. So it seems like some events like Wally catching his Pokemon mess up the fateful encounter flag, so I have to reset it here, and unfortunately I took a bunch of sand attacks from this Puchina first. We still do manage to get through though, so it's just a matter of when I realize that I'm disobedient and actually reset the flag. That will happen at certain periodic points throughout the run where some situation happens that just resets those flags. In the case of the Wally situation though, I believe it's because it replaces your Pokemon with the Zigzagoon in the game's data, which obviously isn't a fateful encounter, and then replaces it with your actual Pokemon after the fact. And of course that messes with that counter flag, so I'm just gonna have to be careful with that with Deoxys as well. And if there are any other situations like that where the game replaces the player's Pokemon data with something else, we're just gonna have to see if it stays set or not. Still, we have made it to Rustboro and we have gotten access to Bullet Seed, and we are going to have to throw this TM on our Pokemon, since obviously we wouldn't have any way of getting through Roxanne with just Pound. It is nowhere near strong enough. We don't even have the normal type to get Stab in that move, so this is just clearly the way to go. So we can test it out on Hiker Devon right here. Let's just see how this goes with the Bullet Seed. We're going to put it in the top slot, and it is a simple 2-hit KO on that first Geodude. That will bring out the second Geodude, where we also get a pretty easy 2-hitter, and we level up to level 10 to learn Transform. We could always transform into one of Roxanne's Pokemon if we really want to, but I think we're better off going with the Bullet Seed here. Let's just see how this actually works out. So Roxanne attempt number 1, let's go Bullet Seed on the first Geodude. It is a 3-hitter, but we get a very easy victory there. That will bring us to the second Geodude after we level up to level 11. Once again, it's going to take 3 hits. We get Rock Tombed right here, but now she's going to go for the potion. That will simply allow us to knock that Pokemon out. And now we get to the Nose Pass. I'm just going to stick with the Bullet Seed here. It Rock Tombs me, and then we get Block, but that's perfectly fine. We're just trying for a big Bullet Seed here. We get a 4-hitter. She goes for the Oranberry. We nearly knock her out that time, forcing her to use the potion, and now she can only go Tackle as we simply knock her out with the Bullet Seed. So just like that, we get through Roxanne on the first attempt. No Oranberry, no healing coming into that fight. We simply get the job done. Mew is way too powerful for this section of the game, at least once you get that fateful encounter flag set so that you are not permanently disobedient. Still, with that one done, now it's time to check in on our Celebi and see if it can manage to get through here as well, or is it going to actually run into some sort of wall on the way? Let's find out. So Celebi comes in with identical stats, except we have the Psychic Grass typing here. And I believe it's going to learn Bullet Seed, so as long as we get to that move, we should be perfectly fine. The bigger question is just, do we have to struggle against the Poochyinas, or do we have something that can get us through them? We're just going to have to see what the starting moveset is. If it's the same as Gen 2, then we should be fine, because we should be able to go Leech Seed strats. But if we don't have Leech Seed, we might be in trouble here. Let's just find out. So of course I put this one inside of the Trico Ball. That puts us up against the Torchic later on. Technically we have a super effective typing against the Torchic line later though, so we'll just have to see. But our starting moveset is exactly the same as Gen 2. Leech Seed, Confusion, Recover, and Heal Bell. With this, I think we're perfectly good to go, because I'm pretty sure against the Poochyinas, we can just go Leech Seed and then spam Recover over and over and over again, and we will eventually win those fights. They're not going to be super fast, but they should be more than winnable. For now though, let's come and fight against May. Let's just see how she goes. Of course, against her Torchic, we don't need to mess around with the Leech Seed. Let's just go Confusion. It looks like a simple 3-hit KO, and sure enough, we get through on the first attempt. So with that, we're ready to move on in the game. Let's just go beat up on some Poochyinas with Leech Seed strats, and hopefully we can just survive even if they howl like a million times and start tackling. I'm pretty sure it will work out because of the Recover on the moveset. So here we'll simply go Leech Seed on this first Poochyyina. Of course, Confusion can't affect it, but we can just sit here and spam Recover from here and basically let the Poochyyina slowly go down over time. And Recover has 20 PP, so we're definitely getting enough turns here. So it looks like Celebi will not need to go into that struggle column. It seems like it's perfectly legit to get through this section of the game. So then the question is just, do we get Bullet Seed, which I believe we do, but in fact, according to my data here, it doesn't come in. We'll have to double check if maybe it's another case of my overlay being incorrect, in which case, of course, we will just slap on that move if we have it. Otherwise, I think Recover plus Leech Seed plus Confusion will be enough to get us through Roxanne. We'll just have to see though. But sure enough, Celebi cannot learn Bullet Seed. That's very surprising to me, given that I think every grass type up to this point has learned that move. So we are going to have to rely on the Leech Seed, Recover, and Confusion in order to actually get us through the next gym. I mean, it should be fine. I don't see any reason why we would struggle here, given that we can recover and Confusion is stab and neutrally effective. It's just kind of surprising to see that we don't get that strategy though, especially because I think we learn every other grass type TM. Only the Bullet Seed is not available to Celebi here. Still, that's perfectly fine. Let's just come fight Hiker Devin and see how he goes. Of course, against these Geodudes, our simple strategy is to set up Leech Seed first. If we're on less than full health, we can always just recover here as well. And after that, we should be healing back basically all the damage from the tackles. And it looks like Confusion is doing massive damage here, so we just get through in 2 hits. We could level up and learn Safeguard. I think I'll skip that move for now. I mean, we've got Heal Bell, so, you know, do we really need Safeguard? I'm not sure, but for now, I think we can just go without it. Instead, let's make our way into the gym. Now, I will give the Oranberry just in case I mistime a heal somewhere in this fight, but I think the general strategy is going to be to go for the Confusions first. Let's just knock out the Geodudes as quickly as possible, and then we'll go into the Leech Seed strats when we get to the Nose Pass. Let's just see if that works for us. So Roxanne attempt number 1, I'm going to go Confusion on the first Geodude. It does over half. We simply knock it out with a second Confusion after that. The second Geodude comes out. We get Rock Tombed again here, but we're still over half health as we get to the final Nose Pass. We are slower than this Pokemon. I'm just going to go ahead and give it a Leech Seed. And then I think while it sits here and sets up Harden and Block, we can just take advantage of that to get HP back, as we also use Confusion to just whittle this Pokemon down. We force her to use the Oranberry right there. She also has potions here, but I think that's not really going to make a big deal because we're just going to sit here and continue damaging her as she uses those potions. We get a nice crit. She tackles, but we're still above half health. We confuse the Nose Pass, and it simply goes down to the Leech Seed anyway. So we do manage to beat Roxanne on the first attempt with no issues, and Celebi joins Mew in getting through this section legitimately. But unlike Mew, you don't even need a Fateful Encounter for this Pokemon. Pokemon. I don't understand why it was just Mew and Deoxys that they were like, fateful encounter flag must be set, otherwise we're going to make them permanently disobedient. And yet other mythical Pokemon they don't do that for. Just doesn't make much sense to me, but you know, take it for what you will. For now, Celebi gets through. We're on to Jirachi. Let's see how that Pokemon goes. So of course, Jirachi comes in with these same stats that we just had with the Mew and the Celebi, but the difference here is that we are a Steel type, so we will resist the Rock type moves, meaning in theory at least that this should be the best of these mythical Pokemon. The question is the moveset. What do we actually start with here, and is it enough to actually get us through? So we'll pick up Jirachi inside of the Torchic Ball here. That will put us up against the Mudkip line. Later on, we'll be weak against the ground type. That was my logic here. Let's see how this Pokemon's moveset shakes out though. We come in knowing Wish, Confusion, and Rest. So that could be a little bit of a problem because the fact that we don't have a move that can actually damage the Dark type at the start of the game means we're gonna have to get to Struggle. Now we could get there legitimately, or we could find that it's impossible to get there legitimately and we're gonna have to do something else. I find it very interesting that this Pokemon has Rest twice on its moveset. Wait just a second. It learns Rest at level 5 and at level 30? What? I'm not sure if that's a mistake. We should learn Swift at level 10, so that could be a strategy as we go through this, but that's not going to come in until after we get through Hiker Devon. So in the meantime, I think we're going to try to get legitimately to Struggle first, but if that doesn't work, then we're going to have to just set our PP to 0 and pretend we used our PP against wild Pokemon, but you know, it is what it is. Let's see how we do against the rival first. Here in this fight, I think there's a good argument for just using up a bunch of PP. So I'm going to use Wish and then Confusion, and then as soon as I take damage, I'm just going to Rest. Unfortunately, I didn't execute my plan very well because I just two-shot there against the Mudkip. So I didn't use up very much PP, but this is fine. I think with all the healing that we have, that we will be able to get through the Poochitas, but let's just see how this actually works out. Basically, the idea is that we can spam Rest and Wish together in order to heal a bunch of turns, and that should allow us to get some sort of survivability here, but let's find out if it works or not. So first things first, I'm going to go for Confusion early on in the fight, while the Poochyena doesn't have many attack boosts from Howl. Then as we get lower on HP, I'll start to Wish here, continue spamming my Confusions, and just take advantage of the fact that we have really high stats. So it's not like the Poochyena does that much damage to me. We can also Rest here, of course. And since Poochyena is not doing that much, we should just be able to sit here and rest over and over again at this point without any real risk of getting knocked out. Like it would have to get multiple crits in a row in order to take us down. So I actually think we're going to be fine to just naturally get to Struggle here. I'm going to spam some Rest, Wish, Confusion strats here for a minute. Like this Poochyena has already maxed out its attack stat and it's out of tackles at this point. So we can just spam Rest even though our HP is full just to not take too many turns. And we can spam Wish over and over again since it's not going to do anything. And now we can go for Struggle and we're easily getting through that Poochyena. So it turns out that you can just legitimately get to Struggle against the Poochyena, and that does not put this Pokemon in the Struggle category, because Struggle, when they're separated out, is because of the fact that you would have to go against wild Pokemon in order to get to Struggle, whereas here that's completely unnecessary. You can just stall out that Poochyena until you get naturally to Struggle yourself and then knock it out. So we'll take it. That simply works for this Pokemon. And now, of course, we're just going to stay with 0 PP. We'll just heal with a potion as we go into the next fight against the Poochyena, since naturally we just want to make sure that we can Struggle from the start of the fight here. So let's just see if this actually works out. It looks like Struggle is simply a 4-hit KO on the Petalburg Team Aqua Grunt, and just like that, we can move on in the game. We can actually heal after this and use Confusion. That will pretty easily allow us to get through Hiker Devon, and then I think our Steel typing is going to be enough to get us through Roxanne as well, since none of her damage dealing moves are going to be very effective against us, and we have just massive amounts of healing with the Rest and Wish strategies here. So I think this is going to work out just fine. And sure enough, we managed to get through Hiker Devon very easily with this Pokemon. So now it's just time to make our way to Roxanne and see if we can get the easy victory. So Roxanne attempt number 1 right here. I'm just going Confusion on the first Geodude. This looks like a 3-hit KO, but we do manage to knock that Pokemon out with some Confusion strats. Next Geodude comes out. We get a Rock Tomb right here, but that's perfectly fine. She's going to Potion, and then we're going to just knock this Pokemon out after she uses both potions. In fact, now against the Nose Pass, I'm just going for Confusion right here. It goes Harden, but we're not taking much damage at all from the tackles here. That makes me think we should have a pretty easy chance of getting through. And sure enough, she just cannot deal enough damage to Jirachi, so we easily win that fight, and we're ready to move on in the game. Now, I didn't realize that Jirachi is in the slow level up group, so it only got to level 10 here. I thought it would be medium slow like the other mythical Pokemon, but it's still perfectly fine to get through to this section of the game. Didn't even need the Oranberry in that fight. Roxanne simply goes down on the first attempt. So with that done, we can add the 3 mythical Pokemon up there to the pass column. We're up to 118 legit passers to go together with 20 struggle Pokemon. So 138 Pokemon getting through so far. Assuming that we add Mewtwo and just the standard Deoxys, that would be 140 Pokemon that actually legitimately pass this section. Still, we're also going to test the other not technically legal forms of Deoxys because I just really want to know. But before we get into all of that, let's test out this Mewtwo and just see if it completely stunts on this section of the game. It doesn't have any type resistances. It's not going to get Bullet Seed, but it should have a stab move like Confusion, and that should be enough. Let's see how it actually goes. So of course, Mewtwo comes in with the massive 154 special attack to go together with really good 130 base speed, though that could be a disadvantage here. And our defense is one of our lower stats, so we're just going to have to see how that actually works out for this Pokemon. But for now, we're just going to test it here against Roxanne. If we start with only the move Confusion, we might be in bad shape against the Poochyenas, because I don't think we're going to have a recovery move on our Mewtwo, at least not this early in the game. So we may actually end up in the struggle column with this Pokemon, which would be questionable whether or not it could struggle. Maybe against some wild Ralts, it could manage to get the range to not one-hit KO. We just have to see. But for now, let's just get Mewtwo inside of the Mudkip Ball and see the starting moveset, and it is Confusion and Disable. Yeah, so we are going to have to struggle against the Poochyenas in order to get through, which is not great. That's not really what we wanted to see here. Before that, though, we'll take on the rival May. She's got her Trico. We're just going to go Confusion and get an easy 2-hit KO right there. And now we can move on to the first Poochyena trainer, where I'm not sure if we could actually get through this one legitimately. Technically, I think if you went for Confusion on wild Pokemon, you'd probably knock a lot of them out. But let's just see very quickly, if we went up against a wild Ralts, would it be able to survive against our Confusion? So here we get a level 4 Ralts in the wild. We go for Confusion, and we do not one-shot. So we would be able to use up PP against wild Ralts. And of course, we could sit here and disable this one in order to force it to use struggle against us as well. But that is all that we actually need to answer. Once we see that there is a wild Pokemon that we could use Confusion against to get to struggle, we're basically good to go here. We're just going to set ourselves to be a struggle Pokemon as we go into this first Poochyena fight. Now, of course, here with struggle, we could simply 2-hit KO the first Poochyena, and then we can just heal with a potion as we go into the next Poochyena fight. We should be perfectly fine. Still kind of sad to see that a Pokemon as strong as Mewtwo is gonna end up in the struggle column here, just because of the fact that it can't damage the first Poochyena that you have to fight in the game, and there's just no way we were gonna survive enough turns to actually like legitimately get to struggle there. Howl basically makes that impossible. Still, it looks like it's just a 4-hit KO on the Petalburg Woods Poochyena, so we do manage to get through there with the struggle strat. Now we're ready to move on to Hiker Devon and Roxanne, where we can go back to using Confusion, and I think we have decent chances here, but let's just see how it actually goes. If anything really does hold us back, it's going to be this slow level up group, since naturally we just aren't going to have quite as high a stats as we normally would if we were in one of the better level up groups at this point in the game. I just have to think that Stab Confusion with that massive special attack stat is enough though to get through here. And of course, we completely stunt on Hiker Devon's Geodude, so we are ready to go into the fight against Roxanne. I'm just going to heal heal very quickly to make sure I have full PP. We'll throw on the Oran Berry as well, because I expect a lot of Rock Tombs here, given our massively high speed stat. Even here at level 8, we've got 28 speed, which is way faster than any of her Pokemon, so she's going to go for a lot of those Rock Tombs. We're just going to have to see if we can get through this or not. Let's find out. So Roxanne attempt number 1, we go for Confusion right off the bat, dealing pretty massive damage here to the Geodude, and it's just a 2-hit KO, and it just went Defense Curl, which it can do randomly. That brings out the second Geodude, we confuse it, it hits itself in Confusion, she goes for the Potion here, which is perfectly fine by me. We like her using her potions on the Geodude, and we'd simply knock it out after that. So we get to the Nose Pass for the first time with no damage. We can go Confusion right here, it goes Harden, which doesn't matter. More Confusion. It looks like a 5-hit KO with Confusion. Normally, we get a nice crit here. She's going to have to use the Oran Berry after she hits her first Rock Tomb on me, but now she just goes block, and we simply get the victory. Just like that, Mewtwo completely stunts on Roxanne, but it does go in that struggle column because of the fact that it had to struggle against the Poochynas. Still, I expect this Pokemon to be just fine in the next section against Brawly. We're definitely going to want to go to that gym first, but then we're going to have to see how we do against the rival and how we do against Watson. We may need to go a Game Corner TM against Watson. Something like Flamethrower might be the only strategy that actually gets us through there. We'll just have to see, but for now, we have at least managed to get through to this section of the game, and we're ready to move on to the next one. Still with Mewtwo done, that leaves only the Deoxyses, and Deoxys-Speed is the only one that's technically legitimate here, but I'm going to go through them in the order of Normal, then Defense, then Attack, then Speed. Let's just see how they actually go. Starting with Normal Deoxys, you obviously couldn't normally get it here, but I think it's kind of interesting to see the base case, the one that would have been around in Ruby and Sapphire, just how it does in this section of the game. So first up, we'll start with our normal Deoxys right here, coming in with 150 in attack, special attack, and speed, and 50 base and everything else. The high speed and low defense makes me really nervous for this Pokemon that it might simply not get through, especially because our attacking move is going to be Nightshade, and we're in the slow level up group, so we're not going to have great levels when we get to Roxanne. We're going to be at like level 8, and that would mean that we would have a 5-hit KO with the Nightshade on the first Geodude. We could use another move in order to try to get through that. I think we get Wrap as well, so maybe the chip damage from Wrap is enough, but honestly, this might turn out to be impossible with a normal Deoxys. Now, of course, we'll have to set the Fateful Encounter flag so that we can actually get through here, but it looks like Wrap is doing decent enough damage to the Zigzagoon to get us through. I'm gonna have to reset here in order to get my name properly in, since this Deoxys is not Mewtwo. So we'll just run Deoxys-Nor, which is Deoxys-Normal for all intents and purposes, and let's just see how this Pokemon goes. I think we'll get through the rival just fine here, but let's just see. So here against the rival, I'm going to lead off with Wrap so that we get some of that chip damage on, and then we can go into our Nightshade since we know it will do 5 damage per hit, and that should be enough to get us through in 4 turns. Sure enough, it is, and now we can move on in the game. And fortunately, Nightshade can work against the Poochynas, so we should be able to get through those fights as well. We might need to go for Wrap on top of that in order to get chip damage. I'm honestly not sure, but let's just test this and see. It also looks like we didn't get our max IVs in on this one, so I've set them now. They should come in after we level up here against youngster Calvin. So I'm going to go for Wrap first, then we'll switch into Nightshade to hopefully knock out this Pokemon fairly quickly. And sure enough, we do manage to get through, and we can see that our max IVs still do not seem to have come in. So here, let's just see how our Deoxys does against the rival. I've updated it so that it does have the proper max IVs, plus it has the hardy nature as it was supposed to. So now all of our stats are actually properly calculating here, but let's see how this actually goes. First up against May and her Mudkip, I'm just going to go for Nightshade here. This should be a 4-hit KO against this Pokemon. Sure enough, it is, and we managed to get through just fine. I think we're going to get through the Poochynas without any real issues as well. I think our real test is going to be Hiker Devon, followed by Roxanne. Just seeing if we can survive enough damage and do enough with the Nightshade to to actually get the victories. Our low defense is the thing that's got me really nervous, plus the fact that our high speed means we'll take a lot of Rock Tombs. This could actually turn out to be impossible with Deoxys-Normal. Fortunately, we can get through the first youngster there though, and I think we'll be fine in the Petalburg Woods with our Nightshade plus the Wrap strats. We'll just have to see how it goes, but then it's really up in the air whether or not we can actually progress. So here we can make it to Hiker Devon. Let's just see how we actually do here. I'm just going to spam Nightshade against this Geodude. We say we took about 5 damage from the tackle there, which is what I'm worried about. I think we're going to take a lot of damage from the Rock Tombs coming up. For now, though, it does look like we can manage to get through these Geodudes without too much issue. Just 4 Nightshades for each of them is enough to get the victory, and we get to level 8. Like I said, though, I'm pretty sure that these are 5-hit KOs on the Geodudes on Roxanne's team. We may be able to get a better range if we go for Wrap first, but I'm honestly not sure if that will actually affect anything or not. And the fact that we're really fast means we're going to get a lot of Rock Tombs here. We might need some Rock Tomb misses to have a chance to get through with this one. So I'm just going to throw on the Oran Berry, and we're just going to have to see if we can get the victory against Roxanne or not. Let's test this out. So Roxanne attempt number 1, I'm going to lead off with Nightshade here. And sure enough, we do 8 damage, but that turns us into a 5-hit KO. We see we took massive damage from that first Rock Tomb. We get a nice defense curl there, but now Rock Throw takes me to very low health. And another hit is simply going to end this Pokemon. And I don't see any logical way that we're actually going to get through here, given that she has potions and that we don't have any good way to deal more damage. We take 17 damage on a single Rock Tomb. So anything less than just crazy Rock Tomb misses means that normal Deoxys cannot win this fight. It's actually going to be impossible to get through here because we just take way too much damage from the rock type moves. We just don't have enough defense here. So with that, normal Deoxys is out of there. So here we can come back with Deoxys-Attack, but I think we can already say this one's not going to work as well because we're down to having only 20 base in both of our defensive stats. And while our attack stats are higher, we don't have a neutrally effective move to actually use against the Pokemon here. So I think we're just getting wrecked once again. We're just going to take even more damage from everything. And we're not going to reach the point of getting any new moves here. So there's just no way that we get through if we only have Nightshade as our effective move to use against Roxanne. That's just simply not going to work. And it's not like Wrap is strong enough that, oh yeah, you're going to do great damage with Wrap here. We could try some struggle strats just to see, but I'm not feeling very confident in that. Of course, our starting moveset is exactly identical to Deoxys-Normal, so I'm pretty sure we're getting wrecked here. In fact, we might not even do as well against Hiker Devon because of these lower defensive stats. And it kind of makes sense. I mean, if you're using a fixed damage move rather than a move that calculates based on your stats, you would expect that a Pokemon would perform better the higher its defense and HP are compared to its attacking stats, since they don't have any impact on the fight. So here against the rival, for example, we can sit here and go for the Nightshades, but we see we lost the first attempt against the rival because we took too much damage from the tackles. Let's try this again. Maybe Wrap does more damage, but certainly not enough that we're feeling great here. We get down to 1 HP when we do win this time. We didn't get a crit, but still that is worse than the normal Deoxys' performance in that fight. So that makes me think that we're going to struggle even to get to Roxanne. We're going to have to see if we can get through the Puchinas within reasonable numbers of attempts, or does this one lose even earlier? Now, for some reason, my stats in the overworld are calculating in the overlay as if they are from the typical Deoxys here, but I can confirm that, in fact, we do have higher attack and special attack than we have showing over there, and lower defense and special defense. So that is clearly just an overlay bug. I'm going to have to get that fixed as we go through. But for now, we're just going to move on in the game, understanding that we likely get wrecked because of the fact that we have lower stats overall. Now, I believe the reason for the stat issue is that probably this version of the Pokebite that I'm using actually calculates the stats rather than on setting them naturally and is probably calculating them based on the base form of Deoxys. So just take that for what you will, but when we get in battle, we will see the proper stats pop up here. And fortunately, we do manage to get through the Petalburg Woods. We are on to Hiker Devon, and this is the fight that I'm really interested to see. I'm not going to pick up a ton of items because I don't think we're actually going to progress with this version of Deoxys. I'm pretty sure we're just dead, but let's see how the Hiker Devon fight goes, because this one could turn out to be rough. So Hiker Devon time, we're coming in at level 6, and I think the only strategy is to go for Nightshade here. We get Mudsport turn 1, which is perfect, and then we get Defense Curl. It looks like we might have this one in a 4-hit KO range. Sure enough, we get through the first Geodude with no damage. We level up to level 7 here. So now second Geodude time, it looks like this will still be a 4-hitter on this Pokemon. It's not damaging us, so we are getting a free win from the looks of it. We will get to level 8 right there and be ready to move on to Roxanne. Now again, we can look at my battle screen in order to see that we only have 10 defense and 10 in special defense, whereas we've got 31 in speed, so she's very likely to go for the Rock Tomb against me, and we're very likely to not deal much damage with any of our moves. We're just gonna have to see how this actually works out. So Roxanne attempt number 1, I didn't even bother putting on an Oranberry. I just want to see what kind of damage we do and what we take. Of course, we'll do 8 damage with the Nightshade, but then we take 22 damage here from the Rock Tomb. That means even if we had an Oranberry, we would still be 2-hit KO'd, and that simply will not work. Let's just see what happens if we go for Wrap instead here. When we hit Wrap, we do 1 damage. So Wrap will not get us through. Finally, we just need to check in on the Struggle strat. So coming in with Struggle, we can see that we did 7 damage here. That would mean that this Pokemon would be a 5-hit KO with Struggle. And because we're getting 2-shot by their damage dealing moves, plus we would take Recoil, there's simply no way that we could ever possibly get through this fight. And it's on that basis that we can just eliminate Deoxys-Attack here. It cannot get through. Its defenses are way too weak. So let's try Deoxys-Defense instead, where we'll have a lot more defense and maybe that gives us a chance. So of course, Deoxys-Defense comes in with 160 base in both defense and special defense. We have 90 base in speed, so we're also slower than the last 2 Deoxys. Maybe that helps us out. And our attack stats are lower, but we have Nightshade as our damage dealing move. So if anything is going to get through, gotta think it's the defense form that actually has a chance here. But it would be nuts if all of the Deoxys forms simply fail at this point in the game. We've only seen a Pokemon get through with the Nightshade when it was in the medium slow level up group, which is why it may simply not work out. But this is gonna be the best case scenario, because I'm pretty sure Deoxys-Speed just sacrifices everything else for speed. So sure enough, we come in with significantly higher defenses here, and after I fix my Fateful and Counter Flag, we will be able to just sit here and spam Wrap to get through this Zigzagoon, and then everything else we should be able to go Nightshade and just hope that our defenses are enough. Like I said, yet again, it seems like it calculates the stats outside of battle based on the normal Deoxys, and I believe that's baked into the game hook Pokebyte system that I'm using, so just take that for what you will. I may have to look into that in the future, but for now we can just assume that those stats are not correct. Look at the stats when we get into battle. You'll see we properly have the high defensive stats here with this one. So here we can stick with going for the Nightshade. We're only taking like 2 to 3 damage per hit from the Mudkip this time, so we easily get through May number 1. And now we can move on to these Puchinas, which really shouldn't be too bad for us. I think we'll get through Hiker Devon easily enough as well. It's just a question of how we do on Roxanne when we need at least 5 hits to knock out each of her Pokemon, and you have to consider that she uses healing items, so we need even more turns than that, but we still might be able to get through with this one if we throw on the Oranberry. Though who knows, we may need a Lepaberry to get more Nightshades to actually get through at that point. Because of the fact that she has so much healing on her team, we might not be dealing enough damage. I'm gonna have to test that and see. Maybe we have to go for some Wraps just to save PP. This could be really, really sus. So I'm going to pick up the Lepa berries just in case that becomes a strat, but I'm not sure we should pick up everything because honestly, we might not get through with this Pokemon. For now, we should be able to get through Hiker Devon though, so let's just see how this one goes. Of course, against his first Geodude, we're just going to go Nightshade here, and it should be a 4-hit KO at this level. Since he's got exactly 24 HP, we level up to level 7. It doesn't change anything here. We still are going to get a 4-hit KO on this second Geodude, but then we'll get to level 8 and be ready to move on to Roxanne. And the question is just how much damage we take from her attacking moves. Looking at our actual stats, we have 33 defense here, so a decent amount, though we don't have any resistance to the rock type moves, so we'll still probably take significant damage. It's going to be very questionable if we can actually get this to go or not. Still, I'll give the Orange Berry. Let's give it a decent shot. So Roxanne attempt number 1 right here. I'm going to go for Nightshade first. On the first Geodude, we get a Rock Tomb that does 7 damage here. So it would be 4-hit KOing me with the Rock Tombs. We heal with the Orange Berry there as she goes for the potion. We are now slower, so she's going for Defense Curl. Now we get a Rock Throw though. That's not great. Second Geodude comes out. It Rock Tombs. We are down to 10 HP, and unfortunately, it looks like we're just getting tackled down there. We didn't have enough HP there. We are going to need some misses, some other sorts of luck if we're going to get through this. It looks like they do 7 to 8 damage per hit against me, and the only way we would get through is if these Geodudes just go crazy on the defense girls. We also need her to just never go for Rock Throw. She can go for that move, just randomly it seems. This time we get a critical hit from the Geodude and then another Rock Throw critical hit, so we get completely wrecked. But like I said, this is basically the best case scenario for this Deoxys, is to get here with the defense form where we can at least tank more hits. But even then, it doesn't look like we're getting the luck to get through, because we get to the second Geodude here, but once we get Rock Tombed, we're just going to get knocked out the next turn. So on that basis, I think we have to eliminate Deoxys-Defense. And with Deoxys-Defense out of there, there's really no point in looking at Deoxys-Speed, since this Pokemon basically just sacrifices its other stats to have really high speed. It will have less defense and less attack than the other forms. There's just simply no way that this Pokemon gets through if we can't get through with Deoxys-Defense, and it's on that basis that we can eliminate all of the Deoxys forms here. They do not pass through Roxanne on minimum battles. So at the end of the day, we have 118 standard Pokemon that managed to beat Roxanne on minimum battles. There were also 3 of the member picks that were technically okay in this section: Kabutops, Sableye, and Milotic. They did actually legitimately beat Roxanne here. Members came in to save them more for the next sections where they're anticipating these Pokemon failing. So it's 121 legit passers here. Then you add on another 21 Pokemon that were able to get through with struggle somehow, some way. Generally speaking, they were struggling on Rival 1 or against the Poochyenas. Only Slowbro ever actually managed to use struggle strats successfully against Roxanne to get a victory, which is kind of crazy. And then we have 206 Pokemon in the fail column, but again, you have to add on 41 more to that from the Pokemon that were saved by channel members and did not legitimately get through. So Roxanne blocked 247 Pokemon in Gen 3, which is nuts. Just absolutely crazy how hard she is to get through. That includes all of the Deoxys forms, and we could even inflate that number more by the fact that she blocked every version of Unknown, really other than the Unknown with Hidden Power Grass or Hidden Power Water. Every other form of Unknown got completely wrecked by Roxanne, and it shows just how brutal this gym has been, effectively eliminating 2/3 of the Pokedex right here. And now we have to move on into the next section where I'm honestly not sure how we're going to do. I'll do a whole wrap-up video on this, and we will be coming back with all of those Pokemon in the fail column that have exclamation marks getting some redos next time, but I'm not super confident that we're going to get a ton of those Pokemon through. Maybe 1 or 2 with enough attempts will find a way through, but honestly, Roxanne is just brutal. She is just absolutely absolutely brutal to get through, and we're just gonna have to see how this goes going forward. I mean, so many Pokemon up there in that pass column don't have answers for Watson, at least not currently. Maybe some sort of Game Corner TM comes in and gives them a chance. They might need to go for some sort of crazy freeze strat with an Ice Beam. They might need to go for some sort of flamethrower strat. I don't see any way that Thunderbolt is the answer there. Rollout and Fury Cutter do come in as move tutor moves, and they could give us some chances, but I'm not super confident that any of those are actually going to work out. So it's going to be pretty insane trying to find a way through the next section on minimum battles. I just have to predict that we're going to whittle down this set even more, and it's going to be a very select few Pokemon that actually complete the game on minimum battles without some sort of upgraded moveset or some other advantage given to them. That's my prediction right now, because that Roxanne section was just brutal. Like, that is worse than the Brock in Gen 1 by far. And it just goes to show that Roxanne really is a massive increase in difficulty compared to other versions of the game. Still, we're just going to have to test this the whole way and see. Definitely tell me your thoughts on the Pokemon that are continuing, as well as any others that you think we should give a second chance to that you don't currently see down there with an exclamation mark on them. Let me know so that we can get them in the next episode. But with that, that's going to finish the main part of the Roxanne Minimum Battle series. I want to give a massive thank you to everybody who's been supporting. Of course, all of the channel members that are up there with their member picks. You guys are absolutely incredible. And there are quite a few members who haven't made picks. This is your chance. Look at all those Pokemon down there in that fail column that absolutely need somebody to pick them up. And look at all those Pokemon in the pass column that will probably not be able to get through the next gym. Maybe pick one of them up to support so that you can keep your favorite Pokemon going. Still, I know that this next section is going to be a massive grind, and we're just going to have to see how it ultimately works out. But that was a major challenge. Now, a few other things that I'll say just very quickly. After the next episode where we do the wrap up, I'll be coming back with the Dragon types only run that is being done for Lavender Regards, the channel member and patron who is supporting all the way in the Steven Stone champion tier. I cannot thank you enough, Lavender Regards, for your support. And we can officially say that RSC Pokemon Challenges has more channel members than GSC Pokemon Challenges or RBY Pokemon Challenges. It is now the best performing channel in terms of channel memberships. I cannot thank you guys enough for that. And we're closing in on 1,000 subscribers. We're like 919 at the time of recording this, so who knows where we'll be by the time this actually posts, since it's going to take me at least a day or two to edit this up. I've also got family coming in from out of town, so I'm going to be a little bit slow on content for the next few days, but trust me, we'll get it out eventually. But with that, I just want to say once again, thank you for your support. Thank you for watching to the end. Stick around for Brawly and Watson coming up next. We're going to see how it goes, and I predict another bloodbath, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we find a way through. We'll just have to find out then. For now, that's all I got for you guys. I will see you in the next one. Later.